Live from the Cajun capital of the world.
I'm the average Lafayette, Louisiana kid.
See, I'm back on my...
Hey, fellas. Hey, Brady Review said, congratulations. Say what's up, y'all. Yeah!
People that have courage don't have no extra gene. There's no difference in you. The difference is, are you going to sit down when it's time to stand up?
Ladies, gentlemen, children and babies, welcome to another edition of the Rage and Review podcast. Once again, for the second week in a row, your boy Jerry is hosting tonight because Nick is going through some personal life changes, some personal events, and he's out tonight. So I'm going to be holding the fort down for everybody. Again, I'm Jerry, joined by, we got a full house tonight, guys. We got Natty Daddy, Cole Gilbo, a.k.a. KG in the house. We got Big Kev, the pride of Patterson, Kevin Dore joining us, as well as our baseball statistician, Mr. Mike Beard, and also my seating buddy from last night, right, against Nichols. I had the just great privilege of sitting next to Mike and his lovely wife, Brittany, and we had a good time, and we had a good Cajuns win that we'll get to in a minute. But boys, KG, I'll start with you. How's it going, man?
I mean, so far so good, boys. We're on a heater. 4 of the last 5 games. We're getting hot at a good time. So, no, winning fixes all things. That's the old saying. So everything's good, man. Now, I do wish the weather would get a little bit better, especially with the weekend series we got coming up, Alumni Weekend. Of course, shout out to Jonathan Lucroy and his retirement that's going to be going down. So we're going to have some heavy hitters in the ballpark this weekend. Like I said, though, if the weather could be a little bit nicer, man, it's been a good week. Finish strong at work because, end of the month, you got to get things out of the building. So, but no, G, it's been good. It's good to see you back hosting again for the second week in a row.
It feels nostalgic a little bit, There's a little bit of nostalgia kicking in. Kevin, I got to ask you, Kev, I know you're living in Patterson. You're about 30 to 40 minutes to the east of us, or probably about an hour to the east of us. So any type of weather we get, it follows. I don't know about you, Mike and KG, but it felt like a waterfall just came down on us earlier this afternoon. Kev, have you gotten any crazy weather in Patterson since the last couple hours?
Yeah, at about 6:20, the sky just fell. I was getting ready to go outside and cut the grass today, and I looked outside and the sky had fallen. It wasn't really supposed to rain until tomorrow, but I guess it got here a little early. So
nonstop for sure. And Mike, last night I kind of crashed your date night with Brittany, but overall, great atmosphere, man. Great atmosphere at the Teague last night, and I know it's always fun when you and the Mrs. go out and catch a good baseball game, especially after a good Cajuns win.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Cole said, like Ron, everything's fun when we're winning, right? The podcast is fun, Work's fun, going to the park is fun. When you're playing for something and you're winning, it makes everything around us 10 times better.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, boys, before we jump in or dive in, first of all, we want to apologize about last weekend. We didn't have a post game after the Arkansas State series. Contrary to popular belief, we do have lives outside of Rage and Review. I know a lot of other fan bases like to use, well, they don't have a life. They got nothing else to talk about. I don't know about you guys. I was at festival with the wife and the little one. KG, Mike, I know you guys had some stuff y'all had going on. Kev, I know you were out and about. I think you boiled crawfish last week, didn't you, Kev?
I don't even remember. I probably did. It's life's been crazy the last few weeks, Jerry. You're absolutely right. We do have lives. So
No doubt. That's all good. That's all good.
Well,
Well, look,
I'll say this. I was out Sunday and I didn't get a chance to shout her out. It was my lovely wife Blair's 29th birthday. So that's why I was off the show. We spent the Sunday with her. Of course, woke up, went to church, and then we were able to have lunch with her family and then dinner with my family. And she had all of her favorites that day. So again, happy 29th birthday to my beautiful wife Blair.
happy birthday to Blair. She's the rock star in your house, by the way, KG. I mean,
No
let's
doubt
be
about
honest.
it.
Every time we see her at a tailgate, she's got one kid here, the other kid here. She's trying to grab the other. Man, she is. There's nothing better than a wife that can hold down the fort, especially when it comes to multiple children, right? I'm sure she definitely compliments the Gilbo household with that.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, she has her hands forward with all three, but I'll even go for a step further and say she allows me to be me at the ballpark and, on the show here. So you're absolutely right. It's never been a secret. Anybody that knows her loves Blair. She is an absolute rock star and a hell of a mom.
Well, true sweetheart, man. Happy birthday, Blair, and hope it was a good one. But boys, before we dive into the post game, or should I say the analysis of last weekend, let's thank our sponsors real quick.
We'd like to thank the following partners who make Rage and Review possible. Our title sponsor, the Best Stop Family Market, with locations in Katy and Baytown, Texas, Toledo Bend, Karen Crow, and of course the official location opened in 1986 in Scott. Visit the Best Stop and ask about the Rage and Review tailgate platters. Gulf Coast Bank, title sponsor of the Tailgate Show every Saturday 3 hours before kickoff. Planet Radio 106.7, Lafayette Roofing, The Yard Goat, Yes Please Branding and Marketing, Old Time Grocery, Stride Safety Solutions, Eat Lafayette brought to you by Lafayette Travel, Rage and Hydration, and Dr. Brett Venable at Recovery Chiromed. And we'd also like to thank our Patreon sponsors listed here. For only $2 a month, you too could have early access to uncut interviews before they air here on our shows. You also get an exclusive Patreon icon next to your name on Cajun Threads, the official message form for Rage and Review. If you are interested in joining as a Patreon, visit us at patreon.com/Rage and Review. Thanks to all of our corporate and Patreon sponsors for making this show possible.
Once again, thank you to our sponsors, our Patreon supporters, everybody who follows us. We love the fact that you're the reason why you keep us going. So I want to thank you once again. Of course, Nick isn't here, but he's here in spirit with the sponsorship promos. So, but anyway, boys, let's get down to brass tacks. Let's talk about that series down in Jonesboro, Arkansas last weekend. Louisiana going down to Arkansas State, taking 2 out of 3. Win the first 2 games. They win the Friday night game 3-2. They take care of business. I believe it was 11-5 on Saturday with a huge extra inning to close that game out. And then on Sunday, early lead, jumped into a Arkansas State rally to salvage the weekend for them. Cajuns dropped that game on Sunday 8-3. But guys, I'm just going to tell y'all, I believe that last weekend was what the doctor ordered. You know, you get the Southern Miss series where Big Kev is almost like Nostradamus, where he picked us to win the series on Saturday and Sunday. You played okay in the midweek, and then you go to Troy and basically you blow the series, and you did everything you were supposed to do except pitch when it mattered. But then there was still promise, and Coach Degg showed, in his Monday press conference, he was actually encouraged with the way we hit the baseball, and you were able to take care of business during the midweek again last week with some momentum against Grambling before going to Arkansas State, taking 2 out of 3, getting the timely hit. I thought the bats were pretty good on Saturday, kind of stalled a little bit on Sunday, but overall, great pitching. Huge performances by many guys on the mound. We'll talk about that. I also mentioned, I said we had a midweek between Southern Miss and Troy. That's not true. Please, I stand corrected on that. But overall, I feel like since the Southern Miss series and into today, the Arkansas State game was a culmination of a team that's still finding its identity. And finally, after this midseason slump that we have, finally has had luck run our way. And in many ways, we've earned some of that luck, and we earned that win on Friday night, and we earned that win on Saturday. So Mike, I'll start with you. Friday night, it was Cody Brash followed by Sawyer Pruitt. Ironic how that was the rotation as opposed to the Friday night game at Troy, which I was very critical about after we decided to make some in-game decisions on the pitching. But I got to tell you, when you go to a place like Arkansas State, a team where Mike Silva has been able to really turn that program around in 2 seasons, you know, a team that we said last week can hit the baseball but also pitch well in that park. You know, when you go scoreless for what, 5 or 6 innings, even though we didn't really get the base hits, it was very encouraging by about the 5th inning, the way Cody was pitching. I was thinking, man, if we can get a timely hit and we can put a barrel to the ball, we could come out winning this game. And sure enough, we did at the end. But I thought Cody Brash did a really good job for the second weekend in a row, the way he performed and against a really good hitting team in a hitter's ballpark on the road.
Yeah, anytime Cody Brash gets on the mound, I'm very, very confident what he's about to do. Every time he makes an impact on the game, every time he gets on the mound, whether he's starting or finishing. But they go the first 4 innings as a pitching duel, right? Both teams go scoreless in the first 4 innings. Cody Brash ends up going 7 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs. But what was most impressive about this game between Sawyer Pruitt and Cody Brash was that between the two, 0 walks between the two guys. Extremely impressive, great command on the mound. I have it highlighted because walks are so important to me. That's freebies, right? And what they did was just phenomenal on the mound. Sawyer Pruitt dominated that 9th inning. He goes 2 innings, 1 hit, faces 7 batters. Those 2 guys, it's a good combo. I do like Sawyer. Every time I see Sawyer, I want to see him as a starter, right? But anytime he gets on the mound, whether he finishes or starts, you're going to get a good product out of him. And between those 2, it's a hard combo to beat when both of them are in the same game together. But that game was a good pitching duel, and we were able to score 3 in the last 2 innings to finish off the game. But that overall was a really good win because I really like to win on Fridays because we struggle on the Friday side. But Fridays is where it starts. And just I don't have anything really bad to say about what they did Friday. I was privileged to watch it with Cole that night on the patio at Luke's. And, I just liked what I saw out of everybody that night.
Yeah, and to talk about Cody, I mean, look, you go on the road, you pitch 7 innings, you give up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, and I believe he had, he gave up 2 earned runs, 9 strikeouts. Like I said, he walked nobody, no batters. And he had 88 pitches, which is actually for a pitch count pretty good. I mean, I notice a lot of our starters tend to get high on the pitch count, but he had a pretty good pitch count in the 7th inning. I think you could tell he kind of started losing some gas, giving up. I believe there were solo home runs back to back or in the 7th inning, I believe, or something like that. But when you have someone, Kevin, when you have someone on the hitter side, right? Let's talk about the bats for a second. I don't think we got a base hit until the 5th inning or the 6th inning, I believe. It took a little while, but how about Donnie LaSalle stepping up at the right time, getting the timely hit, which, by the way, was a dinger. It was a no-doubter the second it hit the bat. And their pitcher, Matthew Allen, had pitched a really good game up until that point. He and Cody were going toe-to-toe. Man, how big of a hit was that for someone like Donovan LaSalle, who, for him, it's either hot or cold. It's either feast or famine, right? He either strikes out or he gets a line drive base hit for extra bases. To me, that was a turning point in the game. If he doesn't get that home run, we're probably talking about a different series. That was so big for him to get that home run to tie it up. And by the time, we were down 2-0 in the 7th. I thought, okay, we're probably not going to win this thing. I don't feel good about it. And then he comes in and just changes the entire dynamic of the game.
Yeah, Donnie, you're right. It's a good point. That kind of turned the tide for the whole weekend because, Dex has mentioned it before. If you lose that, I think you're talking about the Friday night game at Texas State. It was a very similar game to that Arkansas State Friday game. It's tight. It's knotted up, going deep. You're in a pitcher's duel, and then that one thing kind of happens to turn the tide, and it really sets the tone for the whole weekend. But, shout out to Donnie for hitting that home run. But, look, shout out to Spalita in that game because Spalita gets on with a base hit there, a single before that home run to score 2 to tie us up. And then Spalita actually hit the go-ahead run in the 9th, a single to center field to score Colt Brown. That that really, gave us the lead in that game. So I said it to you guys that night. Spolita was the MVP of that game. But not only, Mike, did we not walk anybody Friday night, you said we had 13 strikeouts, we had 0 walks, we had 0 hit by pitch, and we had 0 errors. So those are all free. We had 0 freebies on Friday night to go with 13 strikeouts. And like, Josh is saying, that's your perfect stereotypical Friday night baseball game. And those are the games we've struggled to win this year. So seeing us come away with that kind of game really put a lot of confidence, I think, into the team, not only the team, but the fan base. Seeing us be able to finally come away with that clutch hit, with a bullpen. I say a bullpen. I know Sawyer was the second guy out, and he was able to close it out for us. But to hold on to a lead is what I was getting at. So, and you look at Arkansas State side of things in that game. They were around the same thing. Their starter, the same thing. Their starter went 7, and the closer went 2. 11 strikeouts, only 1 walk, no hit by pitches, and only 1 error. So I mean that it's just as tight as a ball game as you can get. The records were similar, the RPIs were similar. I mean, everything that team's built, kind of similar to this team in some aspects. So Friday night was definitely a good thing to see.
And Josh brings up a good point. And it was actually a point I was going to bring up, KG, before. This felt like a typical Friday night Tony Robichaux style win where you had the pitching duel, and I remember back in the day when you had Gunnar Leger come in, even when the bats weren't as hot, you always knew that someone like Gunnar, or even going back in time like an Austin Robichaux, I'll even go further back like a Kevin Ardwin, you knew they weren't going to give up more than 4 runs max, and you would hope that the bats were good enough just to get you over that hump. And I felt like that happened the other night with that pitching duo of Cody Brash and Sawyer Pruitt. To talk about Cody, I mean, he pitched a hell of a game for 7 innings. But to Kevin's point, I mean, Sawyer comes in the final 2 innings, gives up 1 hit, and strikes out 4 guys out of 8. So out of the 8 outs, he struck out half the batters. And again, I don't want to go back in the past, but I'm looking at that Troy Friday night game, and now I want it back. I want that game back, because it's like you look at this duo, and I hope that based off of that Friday night blunder and what we did against an Arkansas State team that, in my opinion, is better than Troy, to me, if you're going to keep Cody on Friday night as a starter, you got to keep that duo alive for the next 3 weekends. Keep it like that on Friday, or vice versa, right? Sawyer-Cody combo or Cody-Sawyer combo. I think you got to stick with that for the last 3 weekends. Very important, very crucial.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And yeah, I'm going to repeat all sentiments. That was a great Friday night Sunbelt ball game. And I'll be honest with you, there was only 4 arms featured in that game between the 2 teams. And all 4 of those arms are probably going to all 4 be all conference selections. Just so you guys know, that was 24 strikeouts and 1 combined walk on that Friday night game between both pitching staffs. That's phenomenal. That is good, clean Sunbelt baseball. I had no issues with that ball game. But like I said in the breakdown show last week, I knew that Arkansas State was going to keep the score low, and that the Cajuns were going to be able to stay in the fight, right? They were going to keep it close, stay in the fight. Well, the one thing that impressed me as a fan is that Arkansas State boys going into that weekend, or they probably still do, led the conference in saves. So when they get late in ball games with a 2-0 lead, they're known for closing the door, especially with their guy Cooper Garrison or Garrison Cooper. I don't have it in front of me, but no, shout out to Donovan LaSalle, getting a good pitch. Listen, I'm gonna call it what it is. Call a spade a spade. Donnie LaSalle up to that point had an awful ball game. I want to say he had 2 or 3 strikeouts before that at bat. And then he comes up and he just crushes one over the left center field wall to make up for all of it. So that's why Donnie LaSalle's in the lineup. He's leading the team with 7 home runs. He's the guy that can get you a home run at any given time. Now, here's what sucks about it. You're going to have to live through probably a strikeout a game, maybe more than 1. But there's a reason that he's still in this lineup, and it's because he plays A+ defense in right field. And he's a hell of a long ball hitter. He don't miss when he gets his pitch. So, no, I was really impressed with Friday night. My biggest takeaway, though, like I said, is that we were able to overcome a staff that is known for shutting the door, that was known for being ranked number 1 in every major pitching stat in the Sun Belt outside of strikeouts. So, no, that absolutely set the tone for the entire weekend. And finally, y'all already said it, but Steven Spalita, great job coming through when it mattered the most late in the ball game. And Sawyer Pruitt just shutting the door like we know he can. That is a very deadly combo. And Jerry, I absolutely agree with you. Whether we see Sawyer Pruitt and Cody Brash, or Cody Brash and Sawyer Pruitt one way or the other, I really don't care. That is absolutely the Friday night combo. That's the combo that is going to keep us in ball games on the Friday night. I mean, you're going to win a lot of Friday night games if you're only allowing 4 hits in a ball game. I'm just going to say that. So shout out to the Cajuns Friday night, and I'll turn it back to you, and I guess we'll start talking about the Saturday game.
Well, real quickly about that point, right? What makes that combo so unique and special and actually beneficial for us right now is, let's be honest, our track record hitting Friday night pitching this year has not been up to par with where we should be. I mean, the other night, it was a pitcher's duo, but, earlier in the season or during that midseason slump, our pitching struggled a little bit. The hitting wouldn't have been enough to win, but because the pitching was so good and the way that we got the timely hit on top of the great pitching duo, that helped us get the W. And I think that's going to be very important moving forward because, look, starting tomorrow night against Georgia State, followed by a road trip to App, and then you got Coastal, you're going to need that pitching duo to keep the runs down. You're going to have to keep that friction down of your opponent's offense and be able to match the hitting with what you see with our pitching staff. So great win on Friday night. I'm going to tell y'all straight up, guys, I was at Festival International and I was following the group text, and and now that all of us are in this group chat, it's so funny because you see the flow of the game follow through the group text. Beginning of the game, we struggle a little bit. It's quiet. We're kind of chatting. And then all of a sudden we're losing 2-0. And it's like the apocalypse is happening. Oh my gosh, we're terrible. We're this, we're that. Oh my gosh, the sky's falling and the world's ending. And then by the end, after we win, Kevin right here, he's giving like 10 lines of exclamation points and capital letters. And we're all talking about how we love each other and how great life is and how we're going to Omaha. And it was funny because I say that I was able to watch the game while I was downtown. Right when Sawyer, before he pitched that final out, my internet went out and I couldn't pull it up. So I had to rely on you guys. And thanks to Kevin's crazy capital letter rant, I knew, okay, we won the game. So thank you for that, Kevin. It was nice to see. That was a good update because I knew at that point, oh yeah, we won the game. So
it was probably me cussing y'all out for losing faith at some point or the other, honestly.
No, that's between you and Josh. You and Josh, yeah. He's your yin to your yang, man. It's a great. It's so, and the rest of us are sitting back. We're like, and I'm reading, and I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I'm enjoying this. This is just as entertaining as the baseball game. But no, guys, look, overall a great win Friday night. That did set the tone. I felt a lot better after that Friday night win, thinking, look, now all you gotta do is take one of two. I was happy I would have been happy to take the series. I didn't expect a sweep, but I wanted to take the series. So let's go on to Saturday. Saturday, the Cajuns took on Arkansas State, 6 o'clock first pitch, which was very unique. I actually like that. And, Andrew Herman was on the mound. Not his best performance. Cole, you've brought this up a few times. Road pitcher Herman's, maybe he's not the best compared to when he's at the Teague. He pitched 4 innings, had 5 strikeouts, gave up 7 hits, and gave up 5 runs and walked 2 guys. At the same time, at that point, I still thought our bats did enough to match them. I think, I'll be honest with you, I thought this was an appropriate time to take Herm out, knowing that he was on the road, knowing that he was kind of losing his muster a little bit towards the 4th inning. So, Cole, I got to ask you, man, what was your overall perspective, not only just the pitching, but the bats? I thought the bats got off to a really good start, and I thought they were able to kind of cruise their way through the 9 innings before making that big push and rally in the final, in the 10th inning.
Well, yeah, you originally started with Herman. I'll just say this.
I think talk about Herman first.
Well, no, sure. But I kind of want to lead into the offense. No, I thought the pitching coaches or the coaching staff in general did a really good job in filling out that entire situation, because you are right, Jerry. Herman did get out to a decent start, but you can feel things just by feeling, like gut feelings. You can feel the tide start to turning, and I think they went get him at a really good time. Now, they brought Garrett Carter out right behind him. He walks a couple guys, and then it was the Pappenbrock show from there on out. And I think I got to give him the guy his love. We've been waiting on this Tyler Pappenbrock, this version of him all season long. And I'm going to give you his stat line. He comes in after Herman, throws 5 1/3 innings, only gives up 5 hits in that time span, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. And you know what he did? He just pounded the zone and did his job. He pitched to contact and he let the defense be the defense. The second ranked Sunbelt defense played right behind him, and he was nails, man, up until the 9th inning where, we had to go get him for Parker Smith, who shuts the door. So, I mean, no, like I said, I do want to tip my hat to the coaching staff that started to feel Herman, the tide moving. And then, man, just that is the Pappenbrock we have been waiting for all season long, and I'm hoping he can parlay that into a very strong rest of the season because we're going to need him. And we're probably going to need them later in the weekend rotation, like on the Saturday and Sunday, definitely the Sunday, because now with this version of Brash and Sawyer Pruitt on Friday, Sunday is starting to feel maybe like a Johnny Holstaff situation. But if you got a guy like Pappenbrock that can pick up 5 innings on any given outing, that puts a lot of relief on the back end of a bullpen. So again, shout out to Tyler Pappenbrock. But no, let's talk about the offense. A 15-hit performance, boys. It was a hit parade. Again, I mean, I want to say, what is that, like 6 out of the last 7 games we had double-digit hits now? I mean, it's phenomenal. It's something that we haven't seen or talked about all year long. Look, Noah Lewis, he's at the top of my list. Noah Lewis went 4 for 6. I don't know if y'all know this. Noah Lewis is quietly 3rd on the team overall in batting average right now as a freshman. Noah Lewis is hitting .295 as a freshman, quietly. So Noah Lewis, shout out to you, young man. I mean, listen, I can go through the whole thing. Lee Amadei was 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Colt Brown was 3 for 6 with 2 RBIs. Donovan LaSalle went 2 for 4. Drew Markle went 2 for 4 with 5 RBIs. It was Drew Markle's weekend. Listen, he had a very quiet Friday night, but Saturday and Sunday, like Pappenbrock, was the Drew Markle we were waiting to see at the plate all season long. His calmness, his leadership, especially in that late inning knock, clearing the bases to take the lead in extra innings. That is why Drew Markle is still in the lineup, and he's only hitting what, boys? He's, 240 now?
230, 240,
But going into last weekend, he was hitting 219. I need y'all to know that. So he went from hitting 219 to 240 in one weekend. And there's a reason Drew Markle stays in the lineup in the 9-hole, and I love him as a 9-hole. It's because he is one of the best third basemen defensively in the Sun Belt. There's no way you can take him out. And because he does so many great things with the bat. He's not scared to move a runner over. He'll take a walk when he has to, and he does enough to be productive at the plate. So shout out to Drew Markle, man. What a great weekend that you had. I know his dad, Josh, I got to talk to him Tuesday night. He absolutely loved it. But no, Jerry, getting back to the point, it was another hit parade for the Cajuns. One of those games, again, like Friday night, you were able to stay in the fight all the way through, and then finally something gave, to take that big league. And listen, once Drew cleared the bases, I all but knew it was over, especially with the way that Pappenbrock was throwing and knowing that Parker Smith was warming up in the pen. I felt really good once we took that lead, that we were going to be able to seal the deal and get the victory. So shout out to the boys, man. I called it. I called it last Thursday. I said, all the stats are not pointing in a good direction for the Cajuns. We were going against a pitching staff that was number 1 in every category. But I just had a gut feeling that this team, knowing how they played a competition, was going to do well. And sure enough, they were able to take 2 out of 3 with a great showing on Saturday.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to add about Drew's timely hit was it opened up a waterfall for the rest. I mean, you had Lee Amadei get two-run RBI base hit. You had I believe it was it Noah Lewis? Yeah, it was Noah Lewis got a single, got a guy to score from third. So it was 8-5 at that point, but then after that, I mean, it was 11-5, and by then I was like, man, I actually thought at one point, I believe we either had 2 men on or the bases loaded. I was like, let's just walk them off here, get the 10-run. I mean, I know it wouldn't have been the 10-run rule in effect, but let's score 15. Why not, right? But anytime you're able to get 11 runs on the road against a good Arkansas State team, that just goes to show you it was a good day at the office for the Bats. But Kevin, I want to ask you, man, one of the things that stood out to me was Tyler Pappenbrock. I mean, for him to come in, he pitched 5 1/3 innings. He gave up 5 hits, he had 2 strikeouts, I believe, but he gave up no runs. And he did it during a stretch when Arkansas State had opportunities to basically close it out and win this thing. They had a chance in the 9th inning, bases loaded, and they could have walked it off, and yet he was very calm. He was very collective. He was very cool on the mound, didn't let it phase him, did his job, and got us out of that situation. And we talked about it last night, Kev, after the game. We're going to need now more than ever. I've always said one of the good things about Cody Brash getting the start is you got to have other guys step up in the reliever's role. That is the one good thing. I know a lot of people say I want Cody to play multiple games, and I respect that. But it opens the door for other relievers to come in and do the job of closing out games, especially now at a crucial point in the season where we need to get some wins and we're going to need some pitching depth. I thought Tyler Pappenbrock was the perfect role for that. If I had a player of the game on Saturday night, in spite of the 15 hits, to me, it goes to Pap.
Yeah, I mean, if you asked me about Pappenbrock, I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I and a few other people believe that Pappenbrock might get the starts this Sunday. So, I mean, ever since he kind of changed his arm slot, he lowered his arm slot. You know, Coach Sandy worked with him a little bit. I don't know, maybe it's been maybe a month and a half since that happened. You know, he was kind of struggling a little bit at times. He was a little up and down, you know, in that first quarter or third of the year. And then, you know, he kind of fell off there in the middle. And then, since he's moved that slot around, he's come back and he's just been lights out. Like you said, defensively, he's the player of the game Saturday. You know, I said 5 1/3. You know, he gets us out of that bases loaded jam. He steals a shot. It was a shame he couldn't finish it off. You know, Parker had to come out there and get the final 2 outs, but that's okay. You know, that's okay. Cool. But no, talking about Saturday, man, you know, if Pappenbrock's the player of the game defensively, my player of the game, and Cole kind of touched on it, Drew Markle. I mean, he's 2 for 4, 5 ribbies, a home run. Don't forget he had that home run, and I believe in the first or second inning. Yeah, and then the bases clearing triple there in the 10th to you know seal the deal. And what was crazy is in the previous inning in the 9th, I believe, the top of the 9th, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know we had bases loaded as well with 2 outs, and it was Rigo up to bat. And he smokes a ball into the right center gap, and it just hangs a little bit too long. And I don't know if it's just me or if you guys see this too, but it seems like every time we're in that situation, the other team makes a SportsCenter top 10 play to just kill anything we had. I'm not, y'all see that too.
No, it's true. It's true. I thought at that point, I really thought at that point we were going to lose the game. Not because I didn't have faith in our team, but because I felt like the baseball gods were just not helping us out that night. Because when you have I mean, that ball in the gap, the game's over in the 9th. I mean, that's 3 runs right there. That is, I felt like the baseball gods like helped us out with the Markle hit because it was in the same area but more shallow, right? Well, that's 3 runs right there. That's 3 runs right there in the 9th if the ball lands, and that guy makes an insane, I mean, a diving catch, which probably, I don't know if it was a SportsCenter top 10, but it should have been. But I'm just sitting there like, yeah, we're not winning this game. There's no way. They're gonna, you know, we're snake bit tonight.
Well, it's a punch to the gut when something like that happens. You know, you work so hard to get the bases loaded. You're right where you want them. You got them where you want them, and you get the hit you want. You get the pitch you want. You know, he smokes the ball, and the guy is diving over, you know, head first, but you know, over his shoulder a little bit.
And he put it out too. He put that glove out. Like it was.
And it's just, it seems like that always happens. But as they say, you know, baseball regulates itself, and you get the same exact situation come the next inning. And thankfully, Drew Markle's able to be a leader and get that run home. And you know, to talk about Drew for a minute, man, I love that kid. He's a younger kid on the team. He's only been with us this is his 2nd year now, but he's a leader on that team. As we have a lot of young leaders on that team, you know, besides Lee, which to me isn't a horrible problem. You know, that's a good problem, so to speak. But Drew's a guy that's been struggling. He struggled quite a bit a little bit early, but more through, when that stretch in the middle where I guess everyone else was struggling too. But, he kind of got taken out of the game at JMU. He had kind of missed a ball that was thrown down to him at third. He was struggling at the dish. Everything just seemed like it was going wrong for Drew. And he never folded. He never faltered. He kept working. He changed his stance a little bit. He's more of a closed, straight up stance now. And then he starts, he's doing this thing. He's getting bunts. He's getting sack bunts. He's getting sack flies. I believe Drew Mark was third on this team in RBIs. Cole?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I feel like every time he gets a base hit, there's always someone on base that he's driving in, or it's like an extra base.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
It's like the batting average he's third in RBIs. Yeah, the batting average isn't there, but he's doing things that leaders do. He's getting sack hits. He's bunting the ball. He's batting in the 9 hole. He's batting in the 2 hole. He's batting in the 3 hole. He's all up and down the lineup. He's moving in the shift to between first and second. He's moving back. He's swapping second and third at times. He's doing all the things that Coach Deggs is asking him to do, and he's just with a smile on his face, And I love that about the kid. So shout out to Drew Markle Saturday and this weekend or last weekend I should say as a whole.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Drew had a hell of a game on Saturday. Mike, final thoughts on Saturday's win against the Red Wolves before we move on to Sunday.
Yeah, Pappen Brock, that man, he needed that. He looked phenomenal on the mound. And like you said, once you pull Cody Brash into that starter role, some guys got to step up on that back end. And Pappen Brock could be that guy. He is that guy. He looks the part. He plays the part. He's getting better. He's trending in the right direction. And as a fan, when we see guys not playing so well, and when we see adjustments being made, that makes me feel good. I mean, it tells me that they're working, they're trying to change things up so they can get better. And if like Kevin said, the arm slot's coming down, that's mean you're making adjustments. You're doing the right things, and it clearly looks like it's working. He looked phenomenal on the mound. Sawyer Pruitt finishes it off as he usually does. I know Cole's been high on Noah since day one, and he, like you said, things are trending in the right direction, and that guy is trending in the right direction. He's a 5-star tool. Like he can bunt, he can hit, he can run, he can catch. He's doing everything that we want out of a center fielder, and he's doing it as a freshman. He's barely sub 300 right now. The guy's just playing balls out right now. He's playing really well. Markle, the last 5 games, his batting average has gone up each of the last 5 games. He's trending in the right direction. Things are trending in the right direction. He has a phenomenal 5 RBI game, gets him a home run. Cole Brown gets him a home run. It was just refreshing to see the offense kind of explode. 15 hits on Saturday, 1 error, 11 runs. I mean, that's just, man, we've just been looking for that all year, and we're getting it. We're starting to hit like Cole said earlier, double-digit hits almost every game the last couple weeks. So Saturday, I was at a wedding. I had to miss it. Y'all were texting. It was ruining for me. I lost connection halfway through the game. The text messages were ruining it for me. So I went back and watched the game, and man, the hits these guys put on, that's exactly what we need to see going in towards like where we are, especially in the season. That's exactly what we needed Saturday. To get the
no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
it.
You took the series, right? To your point, Mike, you took the series, and I'm not gonna lie. After that, we took the series on Saturday. I was feeling a little greedy going into Sunday. I'm like, I didn't know whether or not. Usually, when you're on the road and a team gets kind of blindsided, like Arkansas State did those first 2 nights, usually a lot of teams falter. But what we've seen, and this happened against DBU earlier in the season, when a home team has their backs against the wall, a lot of times the odds of sweeping become very low for the road team, especially with us, with some of the volatility we faced. But I still felt good going into Sunday after what I saw, because you won the games in 2 different ways. You won with pitching and timely hitting on Friday, and you won with some good pitching, but you really won with the bats on Saturday. So I'm thinking if you could combine that on Sunday, we had a shot. And believe it or not, so Saturday Cajuns win 11-5 in extras. we go into Sunday, and honestly, guys, we start off the game with a bang. Mark Collins hits a 2-run blast to left field. We score, I believe, on a throwing error. We're up 3-1 early in the game. Ty's pitching pretty well. And then you see the shift a little bit where you're playing an Arkansas State team that has their backs against the wall. And when you play a team like that at home, they're going to try to do their best to salvage it. And to their credit, they did. And I thought once they kind of made a comeback, it just got to the point where our bats got cold and they just compounded on scoring runs and getting timely hits. There were times where we had multiple men on base, including the ninth inning. We had the bases loaded with no outs, couldn't score a run. Just wasn't our day. It happens. Was I happy about it? No. But after what we did on Friday and Saturday, I said before the show last week, I would have been happy with just taking the series. I didn't think we had much of a chance because that team, that's the same team that dominated us last year. But we took care of business, and I was okay with, I don't like dropping games, but I was okay with it. I understood it because of what Arkansas State had to do to salvage the weekend. So, Mike, I know I ended it with you on the last game, but I'll start with you on this one. Talk a little bit about the pitching. Ty Roman went 3 in the third innings. He gave up 3 hits, gave up 3 runs, 2 earned runs. Do you think, in your opinion right now, and we'll get to the Nichols game because he started last night, do you think Ty has continued to solidify the Sunday spot? Or to Kev's point, we may be seeing a change on Sunday based off of what you saw against Arkansas State this past Sunday?
Yeah, I think Ty's interesting, man. He'll throw really well, and then sometimes not so much, kind of. But for the most part, he'll give you 75% of good innings. He always gives up that a couple innings where teams kind of get a hold of him. He's a Sunday midweek guy, right? He's good enough to play those 2 roles, but also you have to know that you're going to have to hit the ball because he will give up, some runs in those innings. I'm kind of like Kev. I think Pappenbrock might get the Sunday, or Ty. I think it's out of those 2, maybe for that Sunday role. But for the Sunday, it kind of felt like they were a little hungover, right? Like kind of sluggish. Only 4 guys had base hits. A couple of them had multiple hits. So overall, we go scoreless from the 5th through the 9th. It was kind of like a little sluggish, a little slow. But did I want that win? Yeah, we kind of needed that win. But overall, we needed a series win as a whole, and which we did. Our best guy, Lee, goes 0 for 5. So we were kind of like, that's unusual for Lee, right? Rigo goes 1 for 4. Mark Collins had a hell of a game Sunday. That was kind of his game offensively. Hayden Pearson continues to impress me. He threw really well in the midweek game, but he also threw really well Sunday, going 3 innings, gives up 2 hits, 1 earned run, faces 12 batters. He's a really good guy to me to have in the back end of the bullpen because he's stepped up, right? He's a freshman. We're relying on a lot of freshmen this year, offensively and on the mound, and I thought he does really well in the back end of the bullpen. JR comes in after Ty. Ty kind of, JR is kind of interesting, right? He's kind of trending in downward, right? He gives up a lot of runs, hoping they kind of make some more adjustments. I kind of really want him just to finish off the season, just to be phenomenal. I really want it for him because these last couple of outings have been pretty rough for him. But as a whole, it was a good series win. We desperately needed that series win. Arkansas State, that's not a team you sweep, right? That's a hard team to sweep. They fought, they battled, they earned it. They hit the ball really well. So overall, it's just a good series win. We saw not so much production on the offensive side, but we continue to see pretty good pitching on the back end. And Ty going 3. Whether he goes a little longer or the right pull, I'm kind of torn on that. I can kind of go both ways. He could have kept going, but he also, he goes 3 innings, giving up 2 earned runs. Knowing he might have been on a pitch count, knowing that he was coming into a midweek role, that could have been an issue. We don't know, but overall, I'm happy with the series win. We desperately needed that.
Yeah, and talking about the bats, KG, we've been kind of playing musical chairs. The one position we've really played musical chairs in the lineup with is left field. And in the last couple games, last couple weeks, we're starting to see a little bit of an emergence of Mark Collins. But at the same time, I've been very pleased to see what Josh Lim has done as a true freshman in that position. You know, Coach Deggs made a point that Josh Lim was recruited as an infielder. I think he was a shortstop in high school when he was a utility guy. And he had to basically learn the position at left field. Plus, his bat's been really, really good. I guess my question for you, KG, is at left field, do you think Mark Collins has officially solidified his spot? Or do you want to see more of Josh Lim based on the fact that Mark has actually got, he got some big key hits on Sunday. And it looked like he had some power to it with his home run. And he's gotten some hard lineouts.
Well, if I'm going to answer it honestly, I don't think left field will be solidified at all for the rest of this season. But I do think those two guys you mentioned will be your starting left fielder one way or the other for the rest of the season. Just for reference, I don't know if you boys know this, Josh Lim and Mark Collins are hitting both 278 equally right now. So, I mean, these are two guys that are almost identical on the page. Now they bring different skill sets. Mark's more of a true outfielder. Like you mentioned, Josh Lim had to learn the position a little bit. But they both do great things for this team. Josh Lim is arguably, or I'm going to be honest with you, it's not arguably for me, the fastest player on this ball club. He can go get any ball anywhere. He's got a pretty damn good arm. For a guy that just learned how to play the outfield, it looks like he's been doing it for a while. But yeah, Mark's going to have a little bit more of the power. So really it's going to come down to matchups.
I'm sorry. I got to interrupt you, bro. There's no way Noah Lewis is the fastest player on the team.
I would tell you right now to your face, Josh Lim is the fastest player on this ball club.
Ain't no way, brother.
Ooh, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one.
I mean, I'm here to tell you, I don't mean to break your heart, but that's, like I said,
I gotta see it.
You can be it up for debate, but Josh Lim is absolutely the fastest player on this ball club.
That's a good comment. Who do you think's the fastest player?
If Nick was here, he knows how to do the polls on the screen. If Nick was here, I would have him do the poll for you, Kevin. But maybe we can do that.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just had
I'm glad that you did, because if Jerry's able to get this poll pulled up, I'm curious to see what the fans think. But it doesn't matter. The point I was getting at though is that Mark Collins and Josh Lim hitting at the same clip is awesome, because now you can put them in the lineup based on matchups, right? Whether it be who's the hottest hand at the time, which, for the time being, it's Mark Collins. But even if it's lefty righty, who has better, stats against one or the other. So there's a lot of good things that you can do if you're Matt Deggs, as far as sticking one of those guys in the lineup. You can do your analytical thing and figure out who needs to be in the ball game at what point in time and that stuff. So, but no, I mean, I'm gonna go back to Noah Lewis. A good little segue. I think he is obviously the center fielder. I would be surprised if Noah Lewis is not in center field starting for the rest of this season. And like we talked about a while ago, Donovan LaSalle's been in right field now for half the season. So it looks like you got pretty much a four-man rotation. You got a four-man rotation in this outfield finally, and things have settled down. But to answer your question, Jerry, I don't think it's ever going to be just one guy in left field. I think it's going to be one of the two, because they're so equal at what they can do at the plate. But no, man, I'm going to talk about Sunday. All that Sunday showed me, right, was that Arkansas State's pitching staff is just deeper than we are right now. That's all that it showed me. I don't know if you guys know this. Dylan Farley threw for them Sunday. He either leads the team in ERA or he's top two. I had the stats up here on my board right now.
You mentioned that last Thursday night. I'm surprised he was a Sunday guy. I thought he would have been Friday, Saturday.
Gotcha. Well, all I'm saying is this. The outcome of the Sunday game, just all it showed me was how deep Arkansas State's bullpen is. It is absolutely a hard team to sweep, especially this year. They did basically the opposite that we did Friday and Saturday. They hung around this time and kept themselves in the ball game and waited for an opportunity to strike. And then when they finally got it, they took advantage of it. They were able to take that lead, and they never gave it back. I think the biggest flipping point of the whole ball game, and we argued this earlier before the show even started, and I want to get back to it because Mike and Kevin, y'all are making good points. Did we pull Ty Roman a little too early in that game? It's kind of hard to tell because he didn't have his stuff, but at the same time, he wasn't really awful on the mound. So I could see the debate one way or the other, but the bottom line, and unfortunately, the game flipped when J.R. Tillett came in, and J.R. Tillett had another one of those outings that was subpar. It's not something that we expect out of him, and I know it's not what he expects out of himself. Here's the problem. With Brash taking that Friday night starting role, you're going to have to rely on a guy like JR to be available on a Sunday and give you quality innings. You're going to have a guy like Pappenbrock or Garrett Carter. Those guys, and Mike, you said it earlier in the show, those guys absolutely have to take advantage of their outings now because there is no room for error in the bullpen anymore. Now that Cody Brash is not available to throw on the back end and save a ball game, it's going to come down to guys that, was okay to be hit or miss. Well, you can't be hit or miss anymore. You got to come out the bullpen ready to go because we absolutely need you now. So, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. Sunday, I would have loved to have swept the Red Wolves, a long time Sunbelt rival that it's always a back and forth rivalry each and every year. Mike Silva's got that team humming. But yet they are absolutely a tough team to sweep. And as disappointed as I was with Sunday, it's one of those where you took 2 of 3, which is something that was a tall task to begin with. You kept yourself in the Sunbelt, in the Sunbelt standing fight. And then you live to fight another weekend, coming back home. So hopefully we can, we'll get to, the midweek games in Georgia State in a little bit. But we have a really good opportunity in front of us this weekend against a ball club that, honestly, the Cajuns are better than. So, but Jerry, I'll throw it back to you, and we can either finish up Sunday or talk about the midweeks.
All right, so tell you what I'll do. I'm going to finish up the Sunday, but I'm going to finishing up the series. I'm going to let Big Kev finish this off because Kev is kind of like our eternal optimist, and I'm sure Kev probably picked us a sweep or take the series. So just like he had the Aviators on after, what was it, the Southern Miss series, I'm going to give you the final word on what you saw this weekend against Arkansas State and how important it is or was that we took 2 out of 3 and took the series up in Jonesboro before going into the midweeks.
Well, I'm glad you left the final thought of last weekend with me. I'll be brutally honest with you guys. I was super disappointed Sunday. As the great Jimbo Degg says, good teams win series and great teams sweep. And we had a chance to be a great team Sunday. And I'll be honest, I was disappointed with our fight Sunday. I thought we came out strong. I mean, I think Mark hits the home run, early on in the second inning. Mark hits the home run in the third. We responded after giving up a run in the first. Then we go up again 3-1 in the fourth, and everything's kind of looking good at that point. And unfortunately, Roman runs into a few issues, and we, like you said, we talked about it earlier. I think they may have taken him out just a hair too early. I would have liked to seen him face a few more batters there. He went 3 1/3. I would like to have seen him try to get out of that inning. But I understand it. And unfortunately, JR, man, it's just brutal. It's tough with some of the luck he's been getting. We talked about it earlier as well. He's been working on an arm slot change. And this is something that just happened this weekend, I believe. And, man, that sinker ball had some really good movement on it Tuesday night. And I'm sure we'll talk about that a little later. But you just want to see him come out there. And you're going to see him come out there and find it again. It's just a matter of when. And you're hoping it's sooner than later. And as Cole said, you got to give him those opportunities. Because eventually he is due to have some good outings and get back to the J.R. Tillett that we're used to, which is a true Sunday guy, a guy that can give you some length Sunday. That's all you need on a Sunday, especially when you got good stuff like he had all of last year. He was shutting people down on Sundays. But anyway, Sunday was a little disappointing. The bright spot, Hayden Pearson comes in and pitches 3 complete. And he was absolutely licensed. I think he gave up 1 home run. I believe he had 2 hits and one of which was a homer. I'm not too sure there. But overall, a great outing from him. A great outing last night from Hayden. Hayden has really gained command over his pitches recently, and that's going to be a huge asset to this bullpen playing playoff baseball, which we are. Let's be honest, it's playoff baseball. Playoff baseball started last weekend. So having a guy like that kind of come along is exactly what the doctor ordered. And you just hope to see those changes that JR is making kind of come to fruition. And Ty, he's another guy that's kind of up and down. And again, just circling back, I wish we could have kept him in a little longer. I think he could have kept that game a little closer. Just at the dish, I just felt like we had to grind. And I know you mentioned that Arkansas State pitcher, Sunday Farley's a great pitcher, probably one of the better pitchers on their staff, honestly. But yeah, I was really expecting a sweep. I don't want to take away from a series win when you needed a series win, but if you looked at the conference and overall records of both teams on Sunday, going into that Sunday game, they were both identical to a T. So in such a tight race we are right now, separating, I don't know, maybe 4th to 12th or 11th is like 1 game, 2 games right now in the conference. So when we're fighting to try to get that as high seed possible, and really, honestly, I think we're on the outside looking in right now to get into the tournament. And I know we'll be fine. I know we'll be in it. Don't mistake me there. But it just goes to show that every game is so important right now, and I really felt like we had a chance to be great Sunday, and we just kind of let it slip away.
Yeah, and that's why I know, we always talk about you got to look forward and you can't look back. But, man, I want some of those games back in conference. I want that Troy. I want at least one Troy game back. I want that Friday game against Texas State back, because now it makes the window of opportunity a lot smaller, and it makes the room for error a lot smaller moving forward. Now, the good news is after what we saw at Arkansas State, we're playing good baseball. We're getting better. We're improving. We're getting the timely hits. Our pitchers are starting to step up, especially pitchers that really haven't been as consistent as of late. So, we're showing a lot of promise, and now it gets really down to the nitty gritty of what we need to do. So to close out the weekend, Cajuns take 2 out of 3 in Jonesboro against the Red Wolves. They dropped the Sunday game by the final score of 8-3. As we move into the midweeks, Cajuns had a 2-game midweek stand at the Teague, starting with the Southern Jaguars Tuesday night. Louisiana victorious in 7 innings over the Jaguars by the score of 15-5. But I'm going to tell you guys, man, the first 3 or 4 innings, I'm sitting there like, man, this is sluggish. Last year we played Southern, and I don't even know, we might have gotten like 5 hits, and most of those runs we scored were on errors and just gimmies and freebies by Southern. And this game was pretty interesting. It was very similar to the first few innings, and we had some solo some base hits and got some solo stuff, and we had Noah Lewis got his first home run of the year. So we were able to get some runs early on, but man, once again, our midweek bullpen did not look too great. We put in some, I know JR and Sawyer struggled a little bit, but shout out to Parker Smith. He got his first start of the year, and he didn't have a bad outing when you really think about it. Coming out of a reliever role, pitched 4 innings, gave up 2 hits, no earned runs, walked 2 guys, 6 strikeouts. I'm good with that. That's a good stat line. Doesn't matter who you play. That's a good stat line. But guys, Kevin, I know we ended it with you in the last game. I'll start with you. Man, those first 3 or 4 innings, sometimes in midweeks they're a little sluggish. But man, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little worried in those first 5 innings. I don't know about you. I know you're optimistic. I was worried. I was concerned.
What did I say when
you said
the world
it?
ended?
You did say it. 5.5 innings. The game
Thank
doesn't
you.
end at 5.5 innings. You said that.
Just making sure everyone is aware that a baseball game goes typically 9 innings, not 5.5. But that's cool. So yeah, no, I was disappointed too. Looking at the scoreboard and seeing you losing the no disrespect to Southern, they're a good team this year. They're over 500. They were on a 10-game win streak going into Tuesday night. So and they were blowing guys out. They swept the team that we beat the previous weekend, Grambling State. So they're a good team. They're athletic. They got some decent arms. They got a few guys with some velocity. So, yeah, it's a good ball club. And you kind of get down early. You go up early, and then, Smith has a great start. And then, again, we kind of go back to JR, just trying to find his footing. And this was his first game, as I mentioned, with that lower arm slot. And I don't know if that's something that's going to stick. It's just an adjustment. as y'all was saying earlier, making adjustments is what we want to see. But Sawyer comes in after him after JR kind of gets him in a jam, and Sawyer unfortunately isn't able to get us out of there, and they kind of hit him around a little bit. And then after that, I think that was kind of like a little slap on the ass, like, hey guys, we still got to play baseball, remember? And we come out there and we outscore them. What was it, 5-2 at that point? So 13-0 or 12-0 over the final whatever innings, 4 or 5 innings, 3 innings, however many it was. So it was good to see us run rule a team. We don't have too many of those this year. It pretty much just goes. It speaks for itself. Anytime you have, you hit 407 for the day, you're 11 for 27. You score 15 runs in 7 innings against a team you're supposed to hit against. So it was good to see that start off on, like we said, a playoff baseball week where you really, really, really want to go 5-0, and I think it's definitely possible. You got to get the first one. And you're kind of worried at first when you look up and you see us losing that first one against, again, no disrespect to the easiest team you're going to play this week, and then the light switch flips and you end up spanking them. So it was a good game to start the weekend for sure. The week,
and Mike, to Kev's point, you're down 5-3 going into the 6th, and again, bats aren't really going. And for a team that has had inconsistencies at the plate with our bats, right? We've shown glimmers of hope, and then there's some games where we just looked dead. To see this team outscore, even if it's Southern, even if it's a midweek game against a SWAC school, and look, no disrespect to Southern. Southern has a historically decent program, but like Kevin said, you expect to win these midweek games against that level of competition. And to struggle the first 6 innings or the first 5.5 innings, and then to score 12 runs in the 6th and 7th inning to close the game out. I'm not going to lie, guys. I was more encouraged by the game against Southern, by how the team responded, than I was last night against Nichols. And we'll get into that for a second. But I saw the character of the team after going down 5-3. And to see them come out and outscore this team 12-0 in the last 2 innings to close the game out on a run rule, that was probably one of the more encouraging things I've seen in the midweek so far going into tomorrow night.
Absolutely. Well, the best part is that 12 runs in the last 2 innings. Like, the guys, they didn't give up, right? They hit the ball really well towards – they did score 3 runs in the first 4 innings. But the last 2 innings, 12 runs, I mean, you're coming off a series at Arkansas on the road. You got a day break, and then you turn around and play 2 midweek games, and then you go play another series. So they had, Monday to rest? And then you come play Southern. I thought Southern was a good opponent to schedule right after this series. It kind of woke them up a little bit. First half of the game, like you said, a little slow. And then the last 2 completely just opened the doors. Unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was watching my godchild play baseball at Scout Park, but they did have the game on over there. So I was running to my godchild's field, and I was running to the TV to check scores. JR, like they said in the comments, it was a progress. It was an adjustment. He's making adjustments, but 1 2/3, 3 hits, 4 runs, 1 earned run, only walks 2 guys, 1 strikeout, faces 10 batters. I just want more out of JR. Like, he's a guy I'm rooting for because I know he's better than that, right? We've seen JR at the top of, a weekend rotation. So we know it's in there. I'm liking the adjustments that's being made. They're showing me that they're working with him, that they're trying to, and you could tell by his body language and his faces he makes, like, he wants it. He wants the ball. He wants to be on the mound. He wants to do well, and we all want him to do well. But this team, I thought it was a really good team to schedule right after this Arkansas State team, because knowing that you were coming off of a road, you come in, you play Southern at home, but Noah with his first home run, congrats to Noah. That probably had to feel amazing for him. He's just riding like the high right now. He's playing a really good ball. Colt continues to do Colt things. He's one of my favorite guys. He's a dog. He's tough. He gets him a home run. Lee, what was funny about that game? Lee comes in, hits a double, and leaves the game. Like it was funny to me at that point. Like he knocks one and then comes out. But overall, Southern, right? We know the opponent Southern is, right? But that was a good win. We shut them out all innings except the fifth, right? They put up a 5 spot in the sixth. Just really good pitching. I thought Parker Smith continues to throw well. I'm really big on him. I like him. Sawyer does Sawyer things. Garrett Carter had a good outing. Goes on 1 inning, gives up no hits. But Garrett Carter, to me, that's one of the guys that I really, really, really want him to step up. The cat throws 95, right? He's your closer that we need from here going out, right? It is hard to hit 95 at the D1 level. And he's got it in him. I hope we can expand more outings on Garrett Carter because I think he can throw really well at times. And if they can work with his second and third pitch and then knock him, freeze him up on the 95, he could really be dangerous towards the back end of the bullpen. And like we said earlier, like Cody Brash, if he's in that starter role, Garrett Carter, that's a huge opportunity for him to do some really big things. And overall, a really good win. They did make me nervous in the 6th inning, but everything to me is just trending in the right direction. The bats are getting hot, and that was it just really was. We needed that win. It was a really good win.
You know, and KG, I'll let you close it out, but I also wanted to ask you, man, Parker Smith getting the start, pitching 4 innings, his stat line looked really good. Do you think that's an opportunity down the road, say maybe for, I don't know, a conference tournament game when we get in, if we need to make a run and we need some depth and save some guys? You think of Parker Smith, like we talked about Pappenbrock, right? Did Parker Smith show you against Southern in the 4 innings he pitched that he can get a good start against a quality conference opponent and go 4 to 5 to maybe 6 innings down the road?
Absolutely. I would challenge that if a game was to be played tomorrow and we needed a 4th starter, Parker Smith absolutely would be in that conversation, if not that guy. But going back, dude, I'm glad that you brought up that conversation about Ty Roman and Pappenbrock and who should get the Sunday start. All I'm going to say is this, and I'm going to leave it at that. We have seen Ty Roman clearly be more comfortable this season with being a starter rather than coming out of the bullpen. Pappenbrock can kind of do a little bit of both. We've seen both ends of it. Pappenbrock, I want to say he started against Kansas State, if I'm not mistaken, and had a damn good outing. And we've also seen Pappenbrock lately be really good out of the pen. All I'm saying, though, is if you make Pappenbrock a starter again, that doesn't necessarily mean that Ty Roman can throw in relief. Ty Roman, unfortunately, it seems like he's a one-trick pony, which is okay. If you're only comfortable starting, it is what it is. So what I'm saying is that's something to consider when you're talking about a Sunday starter. But no, to answer your question, I absolutely believe Parker Smith, if asked to be, could be a starter on this ball club, especially in a Sunday or midweek capacity. I was very impressed with his outing. I'm extremely high on Parker Smith. I think he has some of the filthiest stuff on this team outside of Cody Brash. I would rank Cody Brash's slider as number 1, and then you got Parker Smith in that curveball at number 2. Like his stuff just falls off the table, and just a great kid, and he has great family. Shout out to Mr. Les Smith, who is a fan of the pod, watches most of the episodes, and he tailgates with us at Section A. So absolutely want to root for the young man. JR, another outing where his stat line is not great. He did show flashes and glimpses and whatnot, and that's all good and well. You could see that they're, like y'all said, they're working with him, that it's always a work in progress. It's just, to me, at this point in the season with less than a month to go, I was hoping that JR would have already been a polished product at this point. Let's be real. If anybody before the season started said that JR would have been, a midweek reliever, not even a midweek starter, a midweek reliever instead of like a Saturday or Sunday guy, we would have been like, what are you talking about? Like, you're talking about the JR that last season was basically the ace of this staff? Like, what are we talking about? But again, as long as he continues to just work while he waits and gets himself in a position to be of use to us when it matters the most, I hope he continues to do that. And then lastly, y'all talked about Garrett Carter. Well, I should say this before. Sawyer Pruitt comes in some sort of like this little midweek bullpen role, which I'm not a big fan of, and he gets touched up a little bit. It's hard to say. You obviously got to get work in. You want to throw on Tuesday and then be ready to go for the Friday to stay fresh. But I'm not going to read too much into it. I mean, I think Sawyer Pruitt has done enough on the field for us not to question this kind of stuff that he has in the moments that we need him the most. So him getting touched up a little bit against Southern doesn't bother me, right? So I fully expect to see him Friday night and do his thing against the Panthers. But lastly, Garrett Carter, right? Garrett Carter is probably the one guy that absolutely has to step up right here, right now, that Cody Brash has taken a starter role. Because Garrett Carter, to me, when I think of closers and guys that I need to put in at the end of the game, Garrett Carter is the first guy that comes out of my mouth. He's the guy that needs to be a steady hand that can give me 3 outs and shut the door on a ball game. So yeah, absolutely need to see Garrett Carter continue to just pound the zone and be efficient on the mound. And but bottom line, against Southern, these midweek games, or these type of midweek games, to me are more about the pitching side than it is against the offense. Listen, boys, we drew 11 walks against Southern. If you can draw double-digit walks, there's a damn good chance you're going to win a midweek game, right? Now, I do have 2 funny stories that I want to tell, and they're not long ones. First one is Noah Lewis. Shout out to Noah Lewis getting his first home run as a Raging Cajun. But no, in that at bat, Noah Lewis, I want to say, either got called for a strike or got called back to the plate, or something happened where he was about to take a walk and they called him back to the plate. And I turned to Pop-Tart Terrio, friend of the pod, Section A member. I said, he's hitting a bomb right here. And guess what? They grouped him one, and he drilled it over the left field wall, and everybody in Section A was looking at me like I should go buy a lotto ticket. So shout out to Noah Lewis once again. Cole Brown, again, with another home run, just doing steady things at the plate. Second leading hitter on this ball club, especially from behind the dish as a freshman. How special is that? And then lastly, my last story I'll tell. Southern takes that 5-3 lead in the middle innings, and I get really frustrated. I walk out of Section A. Whenever we play bad, I got to take a lap. Kevin will be the first to tell you that. Well, I've decided to go, sit in the top of the grandstand with the boys. Josh Markle, one of them, Jared Bro. So I go sit with them, and then we put up a 5 spot. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll stick around another inning. We put up a 6 spot. I'm like, oh my God. So no, shout out to the boys, just grinding away. 11 hits, 11 walks. That's going to win you a lot of ball games, especially scoring 15 runs and winning in a walk-off fashion, run rule fashion. So just a great Kickstarter to the weekend, and that parlayed it into Wednesday night against Nichols. Jerry, turn it back to you. Let's talk about Nichols.
Yeah, it was a good win on Tuesday night. Cajuns run ruled the Southern Jaguars by the score of 15-5. Then we move on to Wednesday night, right, against Nichols. And, of course, the 5-game weeks, I like them as a fan because it's more baseball. But at the same time, it does wear, like you said, Cole, we look at pitching in the midweek. It's about the pitching and how the depth of your bullpen. That always worries me at times in a 5-game midweek, especially when I know our pitching is good enough, but then, how much depth do we really have? And that always concerns me. But I thought last night, look, Nichols used 9 pitchers. We only used 3. And all 3 of our guys did a hell of a job on the mound. Shout out to Ty Roman, shout out to Murphy Brooks, and shout out to Hayden Pearson. Who, in my opinion, I thought he was the best out of all of them. We needed that from Hayden, right? We needed that. I've been asking for the last couple weeks, why haven't we seen more appearances by Hayden? And he's still a freshman. But he's a freshman that's developed quickly so far up until this point. But overall, the Cajuns took care of business against the Colonels last night, defeating Nichols by the score of 7-1. Overall, the Cajuns, let's talk a little bit about some stat lines real quick. Cajuns had 8 hits compared to Nichols State's 5. Now, the Cajuns, most of their runs, Colt Brown got an RBI single, I believe it was, an RBI double, 2-run RBI single or double in the first inning. Cajuns go up 2-0, and then they don't score till the 5th inning, and Cajuns get 5 runs in the 5th. So the majority of their runs came in the 5th inning, and for the rest of the game, the bats weren't that great. But Coach Deggs said after the game that when you constantly put in new relievers like Nichols did, I mean, they played a reliever every inning. It felt like it's hard to adjust to a new batter. The eyes change, the approach changes. So to his point, it showed last night. But overall, 7-1 win. Good win. Nichols isn't the greatest team, but their RPI, it's in the lower hundreds, which is not bad. But I think we needed this win again to build confidence going into the weekend to close out the season. We do have one more midweek game left against the UNO Privateers next week. But I said going into the Southern game, we have to go 3 for 3. Have to go 3 for 3, KG, to finish out the midweek schedule. KG, I'll start with you. Pitching Ty Roman, I thought was a pretty clever move. I think he kind of needed that last night. We talked about it early on. He hasn't really elongated his appearances as of late. He's maybe going 3 to 5 innings. And if you want to stay in the Sunday spot, you kind of need some consistency. I don't know what I saw last night to say he maybe might stay in that Sunday role, but I will say his appearance last night, going 4 innings against a decent hitting Nichols team, was encouraging. I think he needed that last night to start the game.
No, absolutely. And the way that the coaching staff decided to pitch last night actually shows me that Ty Roman is going to be the Sunday starter. This is what it's setting up to be. But no, let's talk about, Arkansas State. Ty only threw 3 1/3. So that set him up nicely to come back on relatively short rest and get the start against Nichols, where, let's talk about his line. 4 innings pitched, 3 hits allowed, 1 run, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. I mean, that's a respectable line. He just got out there, did his job against, a Nichols team, an in-state rival that, has given us trouble in relatively, recent past. And he just got out there and completely did his job and gave our guys a shot. Now, speaking of giving our guys a shot, let's talk about the offense for a second. Noah Lewis leading the way with another multi-hit game. So we've glowed over Noah Lewis tonight, and he's just been nothing but consistent. Hi, Allie. Good to see you. Sha, baby. But no, I mean, and then you got Colt Brown again, like I just talked about, a freshman behind the dish with 3 RBIs. So, and Lee Amadei, doing his thing with another double. So, a steady 7-1 victory. It's one of those that if there was ever a game you could say was almost a cruise control game, this was it. 7-1 steady victory, never in doubt, took care of business, handled it all the way through. But shout out to Murphy Brooks throwing an inning, and then having a pretty damn clean line other than that 1 walk. And then Hayden Pearson, once again, out the bullpen. One like we've been talking about the last month and a half, 2 months, just arguably the best lefty out of the pen. 4 innings, 2 hits allowed, no runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. What more can you ask? I mean, phenomenal. So, no, again, I'll say it again. Midweek games are all about pitching to me. It's all about how whatever you're doing on the mound is going to set you up for your weekend series. I thought the coaching staff handled these 2 midweek games exceptionally well. And I'll put a bow on what you said a second ago, Jerry. Midweek pitching is all about what your starter, especially a 5-game week with 2 midweeks. Those 2 midweek games are all about what your starting pitching can give you. If they can only give you an inning, man, those numbers are going to stack up and might put a strain on your bullpen going into a weekend. But when you got starters that can give you a really strong 4, and then you can, bring in relievers to throw a couple here and there, I mean, that's just bullpen sessions for those guys. So we're going to be all but fully rested going into Georgia State this weekend. I'm giving an A+ to what the coaching staff did in terms of using this bullpen the last couple games. I've been really, really satisfied. And lastly, we didn't get to double-digit hits this weekend, this past game, boys. We only had 8. And shout out to Nichols. They held us to all but 1 walk. They only gave up 1 walk, So nothing was given. We had to earn it, but we did enough at the plate to take a steady victory, bottom line, and I was very happy with it. And we are riding high right now. You're riding a lot of strong momentum going into a much-needed Georgia State series.
I'm sorry to distract you. I got the little one here right now. Allie, can you say "Go Cajuns"? All right. One thing I'm gonna do real quick. All right. Can you sing center field? Sing "Put Me In, Coach."
Ready to play today. Put me in, Coach. Ready to play today. Look at me, a beep. Summer food.
All right, center field.
What's this microphone for?
That's that. No, we're talking. That's for so they can hear us, sweetie. Okay, everybody. This is my daughter Allie. As you can see, she's a big Cajuns fan. KG, I know you were giving your stats. I apologize. She wanted to come say hello to the boys. So, Give him a quick go Cajuns one more time before. All right. Awesome. Give me a second, guys. All right, you know what, Mike? Let's talk some stats. We talked pitching. Let's talk some stats on the bats real quick, and I'll try to put this one to bed.
Yeah, Cole, I think what you said, you nailed it. Pitching, to me, pitching won the Nichols game. Nichols goes scoreless except the second inning. And just to touch up on the pitching, then I'll get to the hitting. I thought Ty Roman threw well. Murphy Brooks has multiple clean outings. He's looking like he's getting better and better, and that's a perfect time because we're going to need more arms right now. Hayden Pearson does Hayden Pearson thing. He looked phenomenal. 4 innings, 2 hits, faces 15 batters. He looked really sharp. There was some drama with the Nichols. Maybe we could touch up on that a little later. That was fun to see and watch. Yeah. So hopefully we can come back to that. But as you said, Noah Lewis was the only guy on the roster that had multiple hits. He's doing really good things right now. He's really just impressing me. Mark Collins goes 1 for 3. Noah 2 for 4. Lee goes 1 for 3. Griffin Hebert comes off the bench, goes 1 for 1. Cole Brown, huge game for him. 3 RBIs, goes 1 for 2. Cole just can't get enough of that guy. He's just so good. LaSalle, Donnie goes 1 for 3, and Drew gets another base hit, 1 for 3. Drew's also doing just really good things. Offensively, like you said, it wasn't phenomenal, right? We got 8 hits, 7 runs. We had a big 5th inning. But what really stood out to me is this pitching. You know, we give up 1 run in 9 innings, and we give up 5 hits. Like, against a team that, again, we really needed another win. And we did that, and it was because of our pitching. I thought our pitching looked really, really well. Our hitting, like Cole said, we did enough to win the game. And then in the mix of all that was a little drama.
That's a good way to put it. And look, guys, I'm gonna just tell y'all, like, after you have a long weekend, you really had to win, not in dramatic fashion, but you came out, you ended the game with just a huge win against. I'm saying huge win. You scored 12 runs in the final 2 innings against Southern, and going into the Nichols game, you know, Nichols is one of those teams that there's always that one midweek team that always worries me. Actually, the 2 midweek teams that always worries me is Nichols and Southeastern. Now, McNeese has had our number the last few times, but Nichols is one of those teams. They sneak up on you. You just don't know what you're going to get with them. And I was a little bit worried about that last night, but you know, that last night to me was a midweek game where it wasn't the prettiest performance, right? I thought our pitching did well. I wish we would have hit the ball a little bit better, but we did enough to get the win. And sometimes in midweeks, you're going to get that, even against your best teams. When your best top 10 teams play in midweeks, sometimes maybe a 4-1, 4-2 type win is important. You know, it doesn't matter if it's 14-2, but a 4-2 win or a 4-3 win, even if it's a walk-off, that's good enough. And I thought last night, 7-1 win, I thought the game was closer than what the score indicated, but it was still a big win. But really, it was still a big win because of the 5-game week. Now, Kevin, I'm going to throw, everybody's asking about the Casey Artigue situation. I know you, I don't know if you filmed it. You were getting a little heated from the stands from Section A. I want you to give the play-by-play. First of all, give me your analysis of last night, and then give us the play-by-play of what you saw from Section A and some of the stuff y'all were yelling at him, because I could tell he definitely acknowledged y'all a few times in that game.
Well, let's address the elephant in the room first. Let me explain. I'm glad you said that. Let's explain play-by-play what happened with Mr. Casey Artigues last night at the T.
So we're going to go with Casey first before we talk about.
Yeah,
okay,
that's fresh on my mind. So if you weren't at the game, you know you can only feel so much watching from TV. So this was the highlight of the night. It was a great game by us, but anyway. So his first, he's batting leadoff. First at bat, he lines out to Collins and left. And then the second at bat, I believe it's Roman, and we're in a bit of a jam. There's second and third with, I believe, 1 out. It was maybe 2, but I'm pretty sure it was just 1 out. And he fights off a few pitches, and the at bat goes a little deep. And then with a 3-2 count, Roman runs one up on him, obviously not on purpose, and it catches him, I believe, on his shoulder or his arm or some crap. So he This dude's a fireball. So he kind of looks at Rome and takes a step or two forward and says something to him. And then Colt steps out from behind the plate like, hold on, partner. That's not going to happen, dude. So he walks Casey down the base path. And the umpire's walking Casey down the base path. And then Casey turns around and says something to Colt. And you can see Colt's, like, I'm not sure what was said, but Colt's taking care of his guy and he's taking care of his team. So that's going on. Everybody's everybody's booing him. His next at bat, I'd actually went down to grab a beverage or something, and I'm in the concession line kind of looking because I heard the boo. So here comes Casey again. All right. And I'm looking down there. He hits a chopper to Donnie. And Donnie kind of bobbles it a little bit. He recovers nicely, which, real quick, great job, Donnie, last night stepping in at first base, a position I haven't seen him play. He made a nice pick. He had a couple of nice plays. But anyway, he recovers the ball. And Casey's a pretty fast guy, so he's getting down the line pretty good. Donnie comes over. He collects the ball. He comes over, and he tries to put the tag down on his chest, shoulder area. And Casey ducks because he's trying to get under the tag, and it smacks him in his face. So he knocks his helmet off. He gets up. He's checking it for blood and everything. He says something to Donnie. Donnie doesn't even look in his direction, I don't believe. And then the coach comes out. The Nichols coach comes out. At this point, the stadium's in a frenzy again. Everybody's booing. The coach is trying to – I don't know if he was saying it was a malicious tag, but the coach is upset, and then he goes in, and then he comes back out, and the stadium erupts again. So let's move down the line. We get to the top of the ninth inning. All right, we're up 7-1. A few guys get on. Let's see how it went. We got 2 outs, and the 9-hole is up to the plate. And there's already a runner on first. I think Clayton Pouchot. Yeah, Pouchot was on first base. And shout out to Pooch, man. I love Pooch. A couple of guys were kind of booing at Pooch. I'm like, man, leave Pooch alone. I like that guy. So good for him for getting a hit while everybody was booing at him. But anyway, Casey gets he's on deck. And so I've never heard the Teague chanting, walk this guy. We want Casey. Walk. We wanted Hayden to walk this guy. And look, I'm sure he's not paying attention to that. But as it were to be, he walks the guy. And as soon as he walks him, dude, the stadium erupts in boos and cheers, a mixture. And so Casey gets to come to the plate again. And we're chanting 0-4-4, 0-4-4. And he ends up with a soft pop out to Blaze to end the game. And you could tell he was visibly frustrated after that. He kind of slammed his helmet down. You could tell it was more because he really wanted to prove himself after the kind of night that it went on. But dude, you put yourself in that position. You kind of being a jackass all night. He's a feisty guy. And look, I'll never discredit a player for being a feisty guy, but you come back to the team on your homecoming. Don't expect not to get riled up a little bit by Section A and everybody. So that was great. But no, Nichols, man, look, they were a good team. They were on a 6-game win streak as well, just like Southern was on a 10-game win streak. They have won 10 of their last 12. So Nichols was playing some good baseball coming in. And, great pitching performances. Like I said, Roman had got out of that jam after he ended up hitting Casey Ortiz. He got out of that jam. Murphy comes out there, gets a little help from his defense and gets out of there. And then Hayden obviously has another great outing. He's coming along at a time we need him. But the fun part about the game, at least from a baseball standpoint, when we scored all those runs, I believe in the 5th, you get Donnie, who legs out an infield single, okay? Then you get Collins, who bloops one in between right and second. And then the same exact situation, Collins, then Noah, the same exact thing. He bloops another one in there. So we got 3 base hits in a row. And then you got Lee that comes in, who's kind of on a bad wheel right now, and he just smokes a ball at least 100 miles an hour into the gap for a double. So you got 4 base hits in a row, and then you finish it off with a couple of sack hits to score 2 more. We get to 7. So, man, if we could piece together more innings like that, which we have been doing more lately than not, we can be a dangerous team mixed with, the pitching that's kind of coming back along to where it was at the start of the year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like it's one has to complement the other. But to your point, well, first of all, I love the soap opera with the whole KCRT incident because I asked you last night. I had just gotten in. I missed the part where it was a hit by pitch. I had just gotten into the stadium. I didn't see that confrontation. So every time he came up to hit, the Teague booed him, and I'm thinking, well, Clayton Porcho played for us, and nobody's booing him, and it's both former Cajuns, and then all of a sudden I realized I think it was you, Mike, that told me in the stands what had happened, and I'm like, man, this is pretty ruthless. It's like the loudest boo I've heard of a former player, probably worse than what happened with Caleb Stelly, honestly, and I feel like he kind of played into it a little bit, like he was very emotional, like he'd get out, he'd slammed his helmet and doing all kind of hand gestures, but I guess it added a little more entertainment to a Wednesday night midweek game against Nichols. But it was still a crucial win. It was still a crucial win last night, and I thought that was much needed. Look, we have no room for error losing midweek games. This game against UNO next week is just as crucial. RPI-wise, cannot lose that game. It's basically do or die. But I also thought it was necessary to win that game going into the weekend. So it was good to see the Cajuns go 2 for 2 on the midweek series. Good to see our pitching staff create some depth a little bit. Some guys that might have needed some time on the mound were able to deliver. The two top guys, I thought, again, Parker Smith and Hayden Pearson. We're going to need them this weekend. We're going to need them most weekends leading into going into the conference tournament. So it was a good midweek, guys. They were both dominant wins, six-run win last night, run rule the other night. So much needed, and it was good to see. And as of right now, because of those wins, Louisiana's record is now 27-18, 9-12 in conference, and they welcome the Georgia State Panthers this weekend out of Atlanta, Georgia. Last year, if you recall, Cajuns went down to Atlanta and swept the Panthers last year. Georgia State comes in with a 22-22 record, 10-11 in conference play. Really, I don't know what to really think of this team, honestly. They took the series against Old Dominion last weekend at home. They took 2 out of 3. The weekend before that, they were able to salvage the series in Conway against Coastal. They won that Sunday game. And then the weekend before that, they swept a JMU team that beat us 2 out of 3. And they beat them in Atlanta. So they're not a bad team. They're just one of those teams, to me, that either we can sweep them or they could come in and beat us 2 out of 3. I don't know. It's up to us. Coach Matt Deggs said it last night after the game. It's up to us. We've coached them. They got to go out and deliver. KG, you've got some fun facts about the Panthers coming in. So tell us a little bit about them and what we can expect. In my opinion, I think, look, I want to take 2 out of 3, but this is a really good opportunity to maybe get those brooms out and sweep. If there's any weekend to do it before the end of the year, it's definitely this weekend. So, KG, let them have it. Talk about the Georgia State Panthers.
Well, you mentioned their overall is 22-22, but even 500, and they're basically the same in Sunbelt play, tied for 6th. It's worth mentioning they are 7-11 on the road, obviously having to come to the Teague. That also is going to play in a factor. Their RPI is currently ranked at 117, and their strength of schedule is currently sitting at 88. This is not an RPI weekend that's favorable for the Cajuns. Obviously, this is something that a weekend that the Cajuns absolutely have to win, 2 of 3, if not sweep, because dropping any games this weekend will drop your RPI as well, which is something, the Cajuns are back into the 40s now. They're sitting at 49. Definitely want to stay in the 40s, if not get higher into that, RPI. We've come to know it lately as a critical seeding element to the field of 64. So you got to be in at least the 40s, maybe even the 30s to have any kind of an at-large chance, especially in a conference like ours. And then, like you said, Jerry, they did just get 2 of 3 against Old Dominion last weekend. So let's talk about their offense like we always start with. and then I'll give you some fun stats and facts and whatnot, and then throw it to you guys, and we'll talk about it. But they're going to be led in center field by John Beverly. He's kind of their do-it-all guy at the plate, leads the team in batting average with 388, also leads the team in hits with 59, on-base percentage with 455. And get this, guys, he has 30 steals on the season. 30, which is more than some Sunbelt Conference teams put together. So if John Beverly gets on base this weekend, he will be an absolute threat to take second. It's going to be a challenge for Colt Brown behind the dish. At DH, and sometimes we'll see him behind the plate, will be Cole Griffith. He is hitting 329, leads the team in slugging, though, with 506. At third base, we'll see Willis McGinnis. He's hitting 294, leads the team in runs with 40, leads the team in home runs with 6, and leads the team in the most walks drawn with 25. At first base, you'll see Sam Silas hitting 293. In left field, you'll see Adam Haber hitting 292, leads the team in the least amount of strikeouts with 14. In right field, we'll see Austin Killingsworth hitting 269. Behind the plate, you'll see Hunter Carlson hitting 256 and leads the team in RBIs with 36. At second base, you'll see Nick Garagazzo, who's hitting 250, leads the team in doubles with 10 and triples with 5. I mean, 5 triples on a season. You know the kid's got some wheels. So curious to see what that young man can do at second base. Also at second base, we might also see Brandon Davis, who got some time at second base last weekend against Old Dominion. A reminder to the fans at home, I always use the weekend before as a guide to who we'll see for the opposing ball club. And as I mentioned, Brandon Davis is a rotational second baseman. He does not qualify in terms of hitters, but he is hitting 353 for the ball club. At shortstop, we'll see Austin Sellers. He's hitting 198. At DH, we'll see Jay Williams. As I mentioned, Cole Griffith is their main DH, but we might also see Jay Williams. He's hitting 177. And lastly, another rotational guy is shortstop Carter Bailey, hitting 161. Usually at this point in the show, I'll do comparison stats. I'll be honest with you boys, being the last day of the month, it was a little busy for me at work. I really didn't have time to set up the stats like that, but I do have how this team ranks in terms of Sunbelt. So the Georgia State Panthers are hitting 263 as a team, which ranks them 13th in the Sunbelt. The Cajuns, of course, are sitting at 14th, just 2 points behind them. The Georgia State Panthers have 282 runs scored to this point, which ranks them 10th in the belt. They have 380 hits, which ranks them 13th. They have 63 doubles hit, which is dead last in the Sun Belt. They have 27 home runs hit, which is dead last in the Sun Belt. 255 RBIs as a team, which ranks them 11th. They're slugging 380, which is dead last in the Sun Belt. They have 196 drawn walks, which ranks them 7th in the Sun Belt. 386 strikeouts as a team, which ranks them 12th in the Sun Belt. Keep in mind, when you pair that with what we can do on the mound in terms of strikeouts, that's very exciting to see. On base percentage, they are sitting at 368, which is dead last in the Sun Belt. And they have 78 stolen bases, which is 4th in the Sun Belt, right behind the Cajuns. So offensively, honestly, guys, this might be the only offense in the conference that is worse than ours. Now, we're trending upwards, which is phenomenal. We have jumped. We've made bounds and strides the last couple of weeks, which we love to see. We're getting hot at the right time. But, Jerry, you were talking about it earlier, and I said it really too. I fully expect 2 of 3 this weekend. But if you've listened to me the last 2 weeks on this show, I told you guys ever since the Troy series that somewhere in between these last couple weekends, you're going to have to find a sweep. And this is the sweep. I'm calling for it. I think we take all 3. I think Cody Brash sets the tone on Friday night along with Sawyer Pruitt. We know what we get from Andrew Herman on the mound at the Teague, especially against a ball club who's dead last in home runs in the conference. They're not much of a power threat. So, and then, Sunday's going to be Sunday. I think Ty Roman has done some good things last night to kind of build his confidence, and maybe we see him give more innings on the Sunday game. I just think we've completely set ourselves up, especially with what we saw in these 2 midweek games. I think we've set ourselves up really nicely from a pitching standpoint to take 3 games this weekend. And if you do that, you 100% get yourself back in the standings. I know we're tied for 11th, right? And that's scary because that does put you on the outside looking in. But for anybody that's not familiar, pull up the Sunbelt standings right now. It's a massive logjam. 3 games separates 11th place from like 4th. So if you could take 3 this weekend, you can catapult yourself to the middle of the pack, honestly. So I challenge your boys to just stay hot with the sticks. I challenge the pitching staff to just keep doing what you're doing. Do what you did against Arkansas State. If you can recreate that, we will be just fine this weekend, boys. And at last, I'll say this. It's alumni weekend. You're going to have some big hitters, some old guys in the ballpark ready to erupt. Jonathan Lucroy is getting his number put on the outfield wall, an all-time Cajun great. One of only 3 numbers to be put on that wall, along with Ron Guidry and the late, great Tony Robichaux. So there's going to be some high emotions at the Teague this weekend. I just hope that the rain stays away long enough for us to be productive and do what I know we can do on the diamond.
So let's talk about that for a second, guys. Let's talk about the Sunbelt standings. Look, like I said it last week, look how close everything is. Now, going into the series last weekend, we were in the same spot at number 11. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4 teams right here, including Georgia State. That's 1 game ahead of us. And if you look, South Alabama's at 11 and 10 right now. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in between right here. If we take care of business and possibly get a sweep, we got a shot to make a pretty significant jump. Now, one thing I want to show you guys real quickly, and I want to share the screen with y'all, and we'll talk more about Georgia State, but let me show one other thing that's very important based on those standings. Okay, let me pull this up real quick, guys. Give me 1 second here. Let's see if I can pull it up. Here we go. All right. So I'm sharing the whole screen. Now let's look at the composite schedule. Now you've got South Alabama, Arkansas State, Texas State, ULM, Georgia State, Marshall. Let's move over. Look at the Sunday. I'm putting the Sunday games because they're a bunch of double headers. You've got Marshall and JMU. Marshall's 1 game ahead of us. They got to go to JMU. App State and Troy is going to be a very interesting matchup. You got App State in 3rd place, but look at where Troy is, right? Back to back. If Troy can find a way to either sweep or take 2 out of 3, and we can get a sweep, that's a 1 game difference. Another significant one that may not be as significant perception-wise, but is big for us, Southern Miss and ULM. Why? Look at ULM. And they got to go to Hattiesburg. If they sweep and ULM ends up going 10 and 14 and we go 12 and 12, that makes a big difference. Texas State, same thing. They host South Alabama. Look at where Texas State is and look at where South Alabama is. So you have some key matchups, and I challenge Cajun Nation, all of our fans, you guys, keep an eye out on this weekend schedule. There's a lot of games that have teams that are very close to each other in the standings where if we can sweep and take care of business, I'm willing to think that we're going to move up a good few spots. That's very important. So keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for Marshall JMU. Keep an eye out for App State Troy. Keep an eye out for ULM Southern Miss, and keep an eye out for South Alabama Texas State. Coastal and Georgia Southern, I think Coastal's going to sweep them. But the rest of them, every single game has a huge significance on the standings for the Cajuns, especially if we're able to go 3 for 3 this weekend. Any thoughts on that, guys, before we get more into the Georgia State game? What you got, Kev?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment about what Josh just said, saying we don't have a chance at an at-large. I've been hearing that all year long, every time we lose a game or a series. Oh, there goes our entire postseason chances, and this has been going on since like the 30-game mark, not just from him. But I wasn't going to say this, but since he keeps going on here, I will mention that Josh did say he would be absolutely shocked, quote, if we did not get swept this past weekend at Arkansas State. And he did give me permission to mention that today. So no, there's not too much of a hard feeling there. But yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't say too much stuff like that down there, Matt. Or I'm sorry, Josh. But
Well,
I
I'll
just
say
had to
this.
make sure that the crowd was aware of where that's coming from.
Well, I'll say this, Kev. This was, as far as Josh's assessment, it's one of the, I'll be honest, it's one of the few times he was wrong this weekend. I'm sure we're all thrilled that he was because, we needed this past weekend in the worst way. But he does have a point with his comment here, and I'm only going to say this. If you remember Troy from last season, finished the year with 39 wins overall, and I want to say they finished mid-40s in the RPI, and they got left out of the tournament. I mean, I don't think there's any way we can get to 39 wins unless you have a strong tournament showing. And bottom line is, and this is what's weird to me with this entire log jam with the Sun Belt, is that this league, early in the season, we thought it was going to for sure be a 4-bid league. If everybody keeps beating up on themselves like this, it might turn into a 2-bid league. 3 if anybody but Southern Miss and Coastal win the conference. So what he said does have some validation because we just saw Troy just last season get left out with a better resume than most of these Sun Belt schools have. I don't necessarily disagree with him. I think the Cajuns, no matter what, I think for us to move on, they have to end up in the Sun Belt Championship, right? To even give themselves a chance. And I'm talking about the championship game. You have to make a massively deep run in the tournament and get your, I just don't know, Kev. I'm going to be honest. I think we have to win it. I really do.
Cole, I disagree. I disagree, brother. And look, I see your point. And look, Josh is absolutely he's right for the most part. I just had to take that opportunity to take that jab at him. But you compare us to Troy last year, right? We're sitting at 49 right now, and we're 6-9 in Q1 games. Okay. There is a chance if Kansas State and maybe LSU and I think Southeastern and UC San Diego were all in that threshold of us being Q1 games. If we can get a few of those teams to maybe get on a little bit of a streak here at the end and bump some of those games up to Q1, you can get to maybe 8, 9, 10 Q1 wins before you still have to play Coastal Carolina 3 times at home, who's in a very top-tier Q1 game. They're, I think, sitting at 16th right now. So you're giving yourself a chance to really build a resume or build onto a resume that's already impressive, not considering our conference standing. And that's really the only thing that's hurting us right now is looking at us. We're the outside looking in and of our own conference, and we're talking about at-large. Perspective-wise, that's huge. That hurts. They're going to look at that. That hurts. They're going to look at getting swept. They're going to look at losing a series to GMU and ULM, and that kind of stuff's going to hurt you. But if you look at also the kind of games we were able to win this year and some of the things we were able to do early and then more recently, like against a team like Southern Miss or Arkansas State, who's also Q1 games in this instance, I think it could help us when you're comparing to the situation that Troy was in last year. Now, you're going to get into the tournament, I believe, truly and fully. You're going to play a few games. You can't go 0-2 like you did a few years ago and have that conference regular season championship and RPI to fall back on. I think it was 24, right? Yeah, it was 24. We went 0-2 in the conference tournament. And, that was the year we'd won 17 games in a row. We get a 2 seed at A&M, one of our best years in recent memory. So you can't afford to do that. But in the same sense, I don't think you have to go to the conference championship game to get in that large, especially if you can do a few things. If you can win, if you could sweep this weekend, you are absolutely set up for success. You have put yourself in a position, at least recently, for success. Okay. You can't lose a series. You lose a series, it's all over unless you win the conference championship.
I want to show you guys something real quickly. So to your point, Kevin, we're 6-9. I think in 2023 we got in with like a 7-10 record in quad one. I think we were 42 or 43 in RPI. Now to that point though, we did advance to the conference championship in the tournament, and we had to beat Coastal Carolina 2 days back to back, or no, I'm sorry, 2 games back to back to get out of the losers bracket into the championship bracket, which helped us tremendously. But the quad one record was very similar. But look at this. Look at these teams right here. You sweep, you take it, you go 2 for
Someone
2 against.
mark that down, Jerry. Mark what he just said.
All right.
I'm tired of doing it. I've been doing it all year.
All right, hold on.
Wait.
Okay, we'll get to it. But if Kansas State, you sweep Kansas State in the midweek, you beat TSAB, who would have thought they'd be a quad 3 team? They're probably not even going to sniff a regional the way they're playing right now. And then you go sweep Maryland. If only these teams right here could have moved to the quad 1 or quad 2, that would have helped our cause a little bit more. Now there's still time for these teams to turn it around. But looking at K-State and LSU being in quad 3, that's not what I expected going into the season, right? If they could have been a quad 1 or quad 2 win, that would have helped us get that push. These teams right here need to get out of quad 3 and need to move over to the first 2 quadrants to have a shot, I think, to help us, with the at-large conversation. Other than that, we just got to keep winning, guys. We got to keep winning, and I'll stop sharing this screen. I just kind of wanted to give you some perspective on the standings and the schedule and the RPI. And right now we're currently at number 49 with a chance to move up. But guys, I'm going to just tell y'all, going into this weekend, Josh says we're not going to sweep. Well, let me tell you, we have to sweep. And look, again, I'm happy with 2 out of 3. But if you want to get where you want to go, it is almost imperative that you sweep. And I think this is the perfect opportunity. Based on the stats you gave, Cole, the team is not a power hitting team. So, and I mean, let's be honest, that plays right into our hands at the Teague. And and we're hitting the ball. We're actually getting more base hits. We have guys that are stepping up. I just think the way the matchup sets up, I'd be shocked if we don't sweep, honestly. And again, I'll be happy with 2 out of 3. I mean, I think we'll have our work cut out for us if we win the series. But if we really want to go where we want to go, you got to go 3 for 3. Mike, do you agree?
I agree. You have to sweep. I don't think I'm gonna be really happy with a series win. Does it help? Yeah, but we have to sweep. It favors us. Our stats, offense and defense, pretty mirror each other, pretty close to everything statistically. But the ballpark that we have and the offense they have, and also the pitching we have, everything favors us. I think all hands on deck need to be this weekend. I think it has to be 100% sweep. Has to.
KG, what do you think?
I think, we just kind of lightly touched about the RPI for a second, but I think it's still even a little too early to worry about RPI. We still got, 2 big weekends in front of us before we even reach that final frontier, which is Coastal Carolina. So I think we're having a conversation maybe a little prematurely. We just got to handle what we can handle and what's in front of us. And what's in front of us is a good matchup for the Cajuns. This Georgia State Panthers team coming in, like I mentioned, is pretty on par with our offense, which is something we don't get to say about many teams that we play on weekend series. And I'll tell you one more. They're doubly worse than us on the mound. They are not a good pitching staff. So all indications are leading to, being able to sweep this weekend. But I will say this, in all fairness of the way the Cajuns have played this year, every weekend that comes up that it looks like, stats tell a story, there's no way they're going to get it done, they always seem to take 2 of 3 and win a series. And then there's series that comes up that, hey, the Cajuns, they're on paper, they're the better team than this team. And guess what? We dropped those series. So I hope that we can turn a page on that. I hope that we don't play the competition this weekend, because if you do, Georgia State's going to come in here and they're going to be sneaky and they're going to give you trouble. So I really challenge the Cajuns to play above the competition. Play to the level that you're currently at and have been the past couple weeks. Offense, stay hot. Pitching staff, keep riding the high and just continue to get out to leads and keep the leads. Because even in those Troy games, we got out to leads in all 3 games. We just gave 2 of them up. So we've been building leads for the last 2 weeks. If we continue to do that and continue to play consistent ball out front, I mean, that's a recipe for success. So yeah, I'll double down. I fully expect us to sweep the series, at a minimum, take 2 of 3. And Kevin, you said it perfectly in terms of RPI. If you lose any series outside of Coastal, if you lose any of these last 2 series, you have to win the tournament. So I challenge our boys to get on the diamond and get it done.
So as you talked about the mound, they're not too good on the mound, KG. Let's talk a little bit about the pitching. I mean, again, our bats are starting to click right now. This may be You're maybe salivating at that opportunity to go up against the Georgia State pitching staff. But let's get some numbers from them and what we can expect, and then talk about how we have opportunities to score some runs this weekend.
Yeah, I'll give you their expected starting rotation, leading with Cooper Lewis. Keep in mind, I always use the weekend before as a gauging point for what we'll see this weekend. Cooper Lewis is who they went to last Friday. Has an 8.10 ERA and a 2.58 WHIP. But here's the deal. Other than that, their normal Sunday guy before that, Friday guy before that was Brian Crooms, who has an 8.4 ERA, a 1.8 WHIP, and he has 13 appearances and 7 starts. So not much, like I said, in the way of arm talent on this ball club. So like I said, Cooper Lewis is who I'm expecting to see on Friday, but keep in mind, his only start of the year was last Friday, so maybe they might decide to make a switch. I haven't seen anything on social media that would tell me otherwise. Saturday, though, is a different story. Saturday is Michael Caruso, who leads the team in most of the major categories. He is one of 2 qualified pitchers on this team, and he leads in terms of ERA with a 5.48, WHIP with a 1.22, and leads the teams in wins with 5. On Sunday, we'll probably see Cole Roberts. He's a 6.23 ERA, 1.41 WHIP, has a 1-2 record, 10 appearances and 10 starts. He leads the team in innings pitched with 47.2. Let's talk a little bit about their bullpen. I'll give you 3 arms to look for, and then, of course, I'll finish it out with the closer of this ball club. Arm number 1 coming out of the pen's probably going to be Jacob Cruz, a 6.75 ERA, 1.79 WHIP. He's 1-3 on the year, 15 appearances and a start. Arm number 2 might be William Pettery, 6.64 ERA, 1.48 WHIP, 0-1 on the season, 14 appearances, 1 start. And then arm number 3 you'll probably see is Hunter Atkins, 5.4 ERA, 1.61 WHIP, has a 1-1 record, 12 appearances, and 2 starts on the season. Whenever they have a lead, if they have a lead late in a ball game, they'll more than likely go to Will Barkowski. He has a 3.62 ERA, 1.23 WHIP, 4-0 record, 18 appearances and a start, and he leads the team in saves with 4. So when you really break it down in terms of stats and whatnot, their closer actually, kind of like ours, Cody Brash up to this point, their closer actually has some of the best numbers on the entire staff. But let me give you their staff totals and then pair that with where they're ranked in the Sun Belt. As a staff, they have a 6.2 ERA, which is good for 10th. They have a 1.62 WHIP. The Sun Belt does not register WHIP, so I'm not sure what that ranks them in the Sun Belt. But, WHIP being a key stat in the pitching, category had to be said. They do have 8 saves as a team, which is good for 10th. They have 359 hits allowed, which is actually second in the Sun Belt. That is what is so interesting about this team. As bad as their pitching numbers are across the board, in terms of hits allowed, they're second in the conference behind Arkansas State. So keep that in mind. But here's why, and that's why I'm saying it. They have allowed 262 walks this season, which is dead last in the Sun Belt. So that is why they give up so few hits, is because they don't even give teams an opportunity to put the ball in play. They're just going to go ahead and walk them. I think the Cajuns will take advantage of that this weekend. I expect to see some gaudy walk numbers for the Cajuns and for us to be pretty damn selective at the dish. The Georgia State Panthers have 354 strikeouts as a team, which ranks them 10th in the Sun Belt. They have allowed 77 doubles, which is actually 6th in the Sun Belt. They have allowed 46 home runs, which is good for 7th in the Sun Belt. And lastly, one of my favorite stats, batting average against, is 248, which is 4th in the Sun Belt. But again, that could be why, because their walk numbers are so atrocious. So that's a look at the Georgia State Panthers pitching staff. Like I said, pretty much a bottom 4 staff when you look top to bottom in this conference. And I really think the Cajuns have a golden opportunity in front of them to do what they want at the plate. I just think, this is a team that prides themselves on getting runners on base. And, we have really good steal numbers. If Georgia State is going to give up free passes at the clip that they've been giving up this season, we all know in this podcast, all four of us, that the Cajuns are going to parlay that into stealing a guy, moving a guy over, and bringing people in. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. I think we take 3. I've done said that enough tonight. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this pitching staff.
I mean, a golden opportunity. I think it's a golden opportunity. I mean, look, the way we've been hitting the ball the last couple weeks, we've hit better pitching over the last 3 weekends, and you're at home against a team that is struggling with the bats. Even if we have an off day at the plate, I think it still would be good enough for us to take care of business. If this team wants it, and if this team wants to make a strong run, again, you got to go 3 for 3. I mean, there's no... again, and I've said it, I'm okay with 2 out of 3, but it just makes the hill get steeper to have to go take an extra game in Boone or sweep in Boone or take another game against Coastal, which I don't know if we have much leverage for that quite yet. I'm not ready to judge on that yet. So let's make it easier on ourselves and go 3 for 3. The pitching stats they don't impress me that much. And I've said that before when we were in our midseason slump, but I'm hoping that midseason slump is officially over based on the way we've played the last couple weeks. So yeah, I'm feeling good right now, guys. I'm feeling good. Mike, what you got?
I think with everything going on this weekend, with the atmosphere, with LaCroix coming in, I think the people are going to show up. And I also think with taking advantage of the walks that they allow, I think our batters are pretty disciplined at the plate. As long as we stay in control when we're behind in counts and don't go chasing balls, I think it really favors our hitters. Our hitters are pretty smart and pretty disciplined. As long as we stay in control when we're behind in counts, don't chase balls out the zone. Because if they're struggling to pound the strike zone, that's like Deggs' favorite thing, right? If they can't hit strikes, we're going to be sending guys. He's going to try to cause a little chaos if they're throwing balls out the zone and in the dirt. They're spiking balls. We're moving runners over. I think it's going to be really crucial to get leadoff guys on this weekend, because if we can get leadoff guys on and they're struggling to throw strikes, it really favors our style of baseball. If they can just be smart at the plate, take control of the plate, don't chase balls when they're late in counts. And I think with the atmosphere that we're going to have, it's going to be loud, it's going to be rowdy, that hopefully it favors and pushes pressure on the pitchers that are on the mound. And also to touch up on, kind of follow up with what Cole said, if they throw the Brian Crooms guy, he's a guy that has a 94-mile-an-hour fastball with a slider. So now we get to see the type of fastball that we'll be seeing Friday if they go with him. Sunday, the Cole Roberts, he's a 3-pitch guy, 92 to 93 miles an hour. He's not going to blow it past you, but he does have 3 pitches. Cole, you talked about their closer, Will, 92 miles an hour fastball, right? We know he's effective, but these guys are not going to blow it past us, right? We should be able to really command and control a 92-mile-an-hour fastball at the D1 level, right? So I think everything kind of favors us. We have to play our style of ball. Don't help them out. Don't give them freebies when they're trying to give us freebies, right? We could just play our brand of baseball, take advantage of their pitchers. I really think our pitching needs to win this series this weekend, right? They're not a good offensive team. If all of our pitchers are just on top of their game all weekend long, I think our pitching should, and hopefully they win the series this weekend, because it really favors our pitching. Our pitching carried us, and this offense is dead last in almost every category in the Sun Belt, which our offense is right above them. But I think it's a real big opportunity for all of our pitchers to come together as a whole all weekend long to really win everything for us.
And before Kevin goes, I want to say one last thing that we haven't really made a big deal of tonight is that the weather will play into that. So you guys know South Louisiana weather is known for being very thick and very humid, which keeps the ball in the yard. Like, I don't expect either team to hit very many home runs this weekend. And honestly, that favors us because our pitching staff is better. And I'll also say this, our style of pitching, which is pound the zone, pound the zone, pound the zone, as ineffective as it has been at times because of the home runs that we've given up, I don't see that being an issue this weekend. Now look at me, watch my hands. Knock on wood, right? But the bottom line is the weather is going to play in favor of the Cajuns because our pitching style is known for pounding the zone, throwing strikes and making you beat us by hitting the ball, which is something that Georgia State is not doing. So, and lastly, before I go to Kevin, I want to mention this. Field's going to be wet. Balls are going to be wet. That's also going to parlay into maybe more walks by the Panthers. And lastly, fielding percentage is one thing I forgot to say. They are 8th in the Sun Belt in fielding at a 973 clip. Defense is going to be a huge part of this weekend as well, especially with a moist, damp field. You guys know when turf is wet, that ball flies, right? Ground balls are faster. Balls in the gap go to the wall quicker, right? So defense is going to be crucial this weekend, and the Cajuns are a better defensive team. I'm just saying, statistically, all signs point to the Cajuns having a good weekend if the weather can hold off enough for us to get it done.
And I will say this before we get to Kev. If they do bump the Friday game and we have a doubleheader Saturday, that's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure on hitters, right? That's a long day for hitters. They're tired. They're exhausted. On the flip side, our pitchers should be fresh, right? So our pitchers, if they bump Friday and a doubleheader Saturday, our pitchers really have to show up Saturday because you're putting a lot of pressure on our hitters, right? They're going to have, 10 at-bats in a full day? That's 2 games. That's a lot. That's a lot on the athlete. We've all played doubleheaders when we were young, right? It's pretty brutal. So I think our pitchers really need to step up. They got to be fresh on Saturday if they bump the game on Friday.
No, good point, guys. And look, that's one thing we have to be aware of, right? There may be a schedule change. I mean, it monsooned today in Lafayette, and it rained pretty hard all along the southern region of the state, and there's some more rain coming. So to fans, if we're all going to the Teague this weekend, be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for updates. There may be some schedule changes this weekend due to the incoming weather. So just be on the lookout for that. And the temperature's supposed to drop a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit cooler than the last few weeks at the Teague. So you may be wearing a hoodie or something a little bit warmer than you have been the last couple times you've gone. So yeah, just be on the lookout. Check out social media. Check out the news. And just kind of look at if there's going to be any schedule changes this weekend because we may have some inclement weather. Kev, you go ahead and give your final thoughts about this weekend. But before you do, I'm going to put this little baby up here. There we go. We're not sweeping Georgia State, Kev. We're not sweeping Georgia State. What do you think about that? Let's hear your thoughts, dude.
Last weekend, when Josh said that he would be shocked if we didn't get swept by the Red Wolves of Arkansas State, he also gave a reasoning for that. His reasoning was every matchup was in the favor of Arkansas State. And I said, none of that shit matters, bro. Not right now. Not the way we're playing. And it didn't. Well, this weekend, every matchup was in the favor of the Cajuns, and I'm here to tell you that shit matters. So we will sweep this weekend. We have not played a Sun Belt team this bad yet. We will sweep convincingly. We may run rule Saturday with Herm out there. We are in a prime position right now to go on a run. Don't get started with me right now because we'll save that. We'll save that for when we're in the tournament. But anyway, we're on a prime position right now to go on a big run. And yeah, look, as far as like the weather goes, Jerry, and I wanted to kind of mention this before I had to put my 2 cents in, but I want you to pull up the weather for tomorrow night, Lafayette, and just see where we're at. Because honestly, what I would love to happen is for the game tomorrow night to be moved back. And I'll be honest, that's completely just me being selfish because that gives me more time to make it to the Teague coming from Patterson. Because we're boiling crawfish at work tomorrow. We do a company boil every year. And I think I'm probably going to be spearheading that one. So I'll be in charge. I'll have some stuff to take care of. So I need a little bit of extra time to get to the Teague. But not only that, but how many of y'all remember the JMU Friday? No, it was the JMU Saturday night game last year. Cole, I know you remember. Mike, were you there? The game that started at like 10:30 p.m. It rained all day.
Let's preference that though, Kev. I remember it because we thought it was going to be a 2:00 first pitch, and
it was a 2:00 first pitch.
We decided as a Section A group, instead of putting the tents out and trying to cook something in the mud and the muck, we decided we were going to go in the patio at Legends Bertrand. And guess what? 2:00 moved to 4:00. 4:00 moved to 6:00. 6 o'clock moved to 9 o'clock. And before I knew it, the entire Section A crew drank the fridge out of Bertrand. So yeah, I remember that. I remember that game. Buddy.
Yeah, so you guys were there. Andy and Ryan and Josh and Josh Markle were hanging out with us, all at Legends. And, you guys, Bam, Chico, everybody was there. And then we start the game at freaking 10:30. It goes past midnight. The lights go out. We dominated that game. We swept that weekend as well. We were getting hot that weekend as well, which was a little earlier in the year compared to right now. But if that can kind of happen tomorrow night, where we can kind of move that start maybe to like 7:30, I think. Look, weather delays and Cajuns, whether it be football or baseball, go hand in hand. It just works out for us. Being at home, there's going to be a big crowd regardless, I think, of the weather. I think they'll hang around. It'll get our guys fired up. And like you said, as far as baseball-wise, you get a wet field out there. You get a wet ball. It's harder to control that zone. You're already a team that walks a lot of people, as you stated. And we're really taking advantage of stuff like that right now. Man, everything just goes our way this weekend. I'm telling you guys.
Well, let's take it one step further. If you do end up playing a doubleheader on Saturday, that absolutely favors the Cajuns because you have a stable enough bullpen to weather the storm, quite literally. I just think that pitching matchup would put so much strain on a Georgia State bullpen that is taxed to begin with some of these numbers. I mean, I just kind of ran through, they have some really bad ERAs in that bullpen. Like most of the guys in that bullpen are 6.4 and higher. So, I mean, like I said, if you're forced to play a doubleheader on any given day, that absolutely favors the Cajuns. And I think our bullpen is just in an overall better shape to handle that kind of workload than Georgia State is. And lastly, I'll say this. Who would not love to be on the Teague Saturday night? I've been saying this for the longest freaking time. We should be playing 6 o'clock Saturday night. I do not understand why we play at 2 o'clock. I know that maybe that's Deggs' preference or whatnot, but I miss the days when we were playing 6 o'clock first pitch on a Saturday night. I love it. I miss it.
Me too. Every Friday and Saturday should be at 6 o'clock. It must.
Saturdays used to be your biggest crowd. Saturday nights used to be your biggest crowd. Now Friday nights by far our biggest crowd. But man, if you can go all day, get good lubed up out there in the parking lot, coming into the Teague at 6 o'clock, going for a series win. Come on, man. Come on.
If you give us a doubleheader and a night game, that's going to be some loud, rowdy Cajun fans that have been drinking all day. Everything favors us. The crowd, the players, the pitching, the offense, everything favors. If they bump Friday and it's a doubleheader and we get a night game on the Saturday, that crowd will be rowdy.
You know what I love about that?
Oh, go ahead, Kev. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Mike, the best thing about stuff like that, you can have only your truest fans will be in the stadium, and it'll still be as loud, if not louder, than when there's 6,000 people in the stadium. It's like the Maryland thing, man. It just works out that way.
So just to give you guys some reference here, this is Friday or tomorrow, okay? And starting at 3 a.m., there's going to be rain. And it looks like 44, 46, 48. And then right around noonish, 1 o'clock, the chances start to go up. And around 6 o'clock, first pitch, 51%. Followed by 65% at 7, 83, 85, 91. So, guys, I'm going to just tell you right now, it looks like we may be doing a Saturday doubleheader, depending on whether or not these percentages of chances of rain stay the same. And, hey, bundle up, guys. Look at the temperature. Low 60s, upper 50s tomorrow night. So, it's going to be pretty chilly at the Teague. And then Saturday, the rain should go away around 6 a.m. at sunrise. And look at this. Pretty much partly cloudy and sun the rest of the way. And beautiful low 70s, right? And then on Sunday, I think we should be good. Sunday, we should be out of the rain. High 79, low 55.
Oh, beautiful.
So I'm willing to bet right now, or I'm willing to think right now, that it's going to be a doubleheader Saturday and then normal time, 1 o'clock first pitch on Sunday, based off of the forecast right now. If this doesn't change, because 94% chance of rain, especially in the cold weather, that's some nasty weather, guys. That's some nasty weather maybe on a Friday.
Yeah, looking at that, I agree. I wish it could have worked out that way, but hey, it might even work out better, like y'all said, if we play a doubleheader on Saturday, because you completely erase all chances of rain, but you give us a good, high 70s, low 60s sunny day. and hopefully you can get a game that starts closer to the evening time for that second doubleheader game and kind of give you those Friday night vibes again that you'd miss on a Saturday. So,
yeah, no doubt about it. So, yeah, Louisiana Raging Cajuns, 3-game series as they host the Georgia State Panthers this weekend at the Teague. First pitch, as of now, it's tentative, depending on the weather. 6 p.m. first pitch on tomorrow night, Friday. First pitch, 2 o'clock on Saturday, 1 o'clock first pitch on Sunday. You'll see us there. All 4 of us will be there, so come say hello, come chill with us. BJ from Section A says on Saturday, go check out the Section A tailgate. Lazy Man's meatball stew with potatoes and carrots. Now that is what I'm talking about. So if y'all want to go stop by Section A tailgate, of course, Ranger Reviews kind of created this unofficial partnership, I guess, with Section A. It's kind of unspoken, so you'll see all of us there. Please come and say hi and come get some of that delicious meatball stew that will be cooking in that pot. All right, let's move on to softball real quick. Tonight, Cajuns had a 3-game series at South Alabama down in Mobile. It's the final weekend series of the regular season before coming back to Lamson for the Sun Belt Conference Tournament, which the Cajuns they've gotten in. Big series win over the weekend against the Marshall Thundering Herd. Cajuns win the Friday and Saturday game, drop a close 3-2 game on Sunday. And then tonight, not the best performance. Louisiana drops their game to South Alabama by the score of 4-0. KG, do you have any stat lines on Cajun softball?
Yeah, I'll just kind of run through it real quick. 27-25 overall, 10-12 now in the Sun Belt, which seats them at 7th place. They're up to 51 in the RPI. I have not checked the RPI since tonight's ball game. I'm sure they dropped a couple spots since then. You mentioned it, though. I'll give a quick recap of the weekend. Able to take that Friday night game against Marshall 3-2. Haley Hart delivered a game winner, and as they erased that early 2-0 deficit in the final 2 innings. Top hitters in that ball game, Mia Norwood went 3 for 3 with a triple and an RBI, and Haley Hart, of course, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Top pitcher in that one was Sage Hoover, who got the win, which moved her to 10-9 overall at the time. 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 3 strikeouts, and 3 walks. Saturday against Marshall, Cajuns win that one 5-3. Early 5-run outburst and a complete game from Bethany Noble sealed the series victory in that one. Couple of the hitters, top hitters in that one was Madison Manning, who went 2 for 3 with a double and an RBI, and Lily Knox, who went 2 for 2 with a double and an RBI as well. Top pitcher in that one was Bethany Noble, who got the win, the mover to 9-4 overall, 7 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, and 6 walks. And lastly, against Sunday against Marshall, unfortunately, a 3-run Marshall 5th inning undoes the Cajuns' early lead, and they dropped that one 3-2. Top hitters in that one for the Cajuns, Deja Williams went 1 for 2 with an RBI, and Mia Lascano went 2 for 3. And the top pitcher was Bethany Noble, who had 4 innings pitched, no earned runs, 1 walk, and 2 walks and 1 strikeout. As you mentioned, they did drop a game tonight to South Alabama. They are in Mobile for a 3-game series. There are a couple of stats that I need to give about that loss tonight. First off, I'll say that South Alabama comes into this weekend. They were 27-24. Now, of course, they're 28-24. They moved to 12-10 in the Sun Belt, which before tonight's game, they were tied for 6th. This would have been a really strong weekend for the Cajuns to kind of flip-flop seeding with South Alabama. But unfortunately, with them losing tonight, they're going to be facing an uphill battle. With them losing tonight, the Cajuns have snapped a 29-game win streak versus South Alabama that has been since 2015. They have not lost to South Alabama in the last decade. And not only that, the loss tonight moves UL's away record. Get this. Cajun softball is now 2-16 on the year. It's hard to fathom that this ball club only has 2 wins away, 2 true road wins away from the from Lamson Park. I know they have a lot of what they call it, neutral site wins and stuff. I want to say they have a pretty favorable neutral site record, but when you're talking true road games, they're 2-16. Just keep in mind, folks, this is the last series of the year for the Cajuns. 2 more games to go, and then they'll be playing the conference tournament at Lamson. The only bright side of this is I hope they're able to finish strong. I hope this loss was a wake-up call. We were having such high hopes, and Kevin, I kind of want you to touch on softball in a second because I know you have strong feelings about them as well. we were riding high, man. You just took 2 of 3 from the number 1 team in the conference, and you almost swept them. I mean, honestly, you had a chance to. They had to score three runs in an inning on the Sunday game, and you just weren't able to get enough done at the back end. But I was hoping we were going to parlay that into a very strong weekend in Mobile, and it's off to a bad start. Now, who's to say these girls can't respond right here, right now, and take the last 2? I challenged them to do that. Let's win this series going into a conference tournament in your home ballpark at the Vet. But the main upside for me is that the Cajuns at home are a pretty damn good softball team, and your conference tournament is literally in your backyard. That gives me hope. We know Cajun softball fans are crazy in a good way. They're going to be there for those tournament games. Let's take the last 2 in Mobile and get back home soon. Like, salvage this weekend, because like I said, it's not off to a good start. Kev, I know you weren't on the show last week. I know the Cajuns, have done some great things on the softball diamond. Not only touch on last weekend, but just touch on their past few couple weeks as a whole.
Yeah, I think I don't remember which the last show I was able to talk to you guys, but it was after.
It was
LSU
just before
game.
Coastal. It was just before we played Coastal.
So it was the Thursday after the LSU midweek game, and Coach Alley kind of challenged the girls, and I had challenged them too. Like, I don't think they're gonna sit down and just take it, and they end up going and sweeping Coastal, who was a really good team last year, and I don't remember. I think it might have been Haley Hart or Kennedy Moore. So I don't remember which girl said it, but they said we got the mentality of keeping our foot on your throat, or something along those lines. And I loved hearing that, because that's exactly what I wanted to see him do. You responded exactly like I wanted to see, and you drop a close game to McNeese in the midweek, and then Friday night you win a game 3, you walk off 3-2 around the same time that baseball takes a 3-2 win at Arkansas State. So that was cool to see happen in the same time frame. And then I was actually able to make it out there Saturday for the Saturday game against Marshall. It was Beth Noble's senior day. She goes out there and throws a CG. It was 5-1 in the 7th, I believe, and 5-2, and she got in a little trouble. Late in the game there. I think they may have even had the bases loaded. They had a situation or an opportunity to take the lead in that game, and I think she had thrown, I don't remember the number. It may have been 111 or 130. It was over 100 pitches for sure.
It was 118 pitches.
118. Okay. She's at 118 pitches. And if you've ever watched her this year, she's one of my favorite players on the team because her spirit. She's always got like the headdress on the side or in the dugout. And whenever she goes in the pitch, you can see she feels the energy from the fans, the music. She's dancing, she's singing. She's praising the Lord out there. Like, you just love seeing that kind of energy in a softball player, especially a pitcher. So it was awesome to see her finish that complete game off and get the win on her senior day. Not only for her, but for the team to take a series against the number 1 team in the conference, who, by the way, only lost 2 conference games going into that weekend. I wasn't able to watch Sunday. I did see they had dropped the game Sunday. Which, that's okay. It's expected. You're playing the best team in the conference by far. But yeah, tonight I was able to watch a good bit of the game tonight. It was a little disappointing, as you said, Cole. I felt like we just weren't the same team we were last weekend and the weekend before that. I know we really struggled on the road, as you said. We're 2-16 on true road games. We are 8-2 in neutral site games. But it just goes to show, like, maybe that's the last step that this team needs to take in the direction of kind of building the program back up. You got to win your road games. And I know we play a tough road schedule, and we do every year, regardless of where the program's at. We're always playing the Florida States and the Texas A&Ms, the Oklahomas, or whatever. So hopefully they can get that mentality back tomorrow. And Saturday, there's supposed to be some weather similar to what we got going on down here. So hopefully that doesn't get in the way too much. Hopefully they can reach down and dig deep and find what they had last weekend and just have that killer instinct. Go out there and take it from them. You're on their turf. You're in Alabama. Doesn't matter. You go out there and show them who you are and show them why they hadn't beat you since 2015 until last night. And you use that as fuel. You take that to heart. You wear it on your sleeve and you go out there. You take what's yours. And you go into a, like you said, a conference tournament that's in your backyard, in your stadium, and everything you've seen. You know, you're 17-7 at home this year. So if you can get back home with a decent seed and hopefully a series victory and finish off the conference series with 3 straight series wins, you make a little noise and you just see what happens. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, like you said, guys, I mean, you got to win the final 2 and salvage this weekend. You need some momentum going into the conference tournament. Man, I'm not going to lie. I did not expect a 2-16 road record. I mean, that's tough. That's a tough one. We just don't play well on the road, obviously. But you come home next week in front of, I mean, let's be honest, we have one of the best softball fans in the country. We're going to need the crowd behind this team. And so let's see if we could finish strong this weekend and come back and get ready to make a run at this tournament. Because, you know, look, one thing that Coach Ali Habit said after the LSU loss a few weeks ago was, you know, these players, these girls know what type of legacies exist at this program, and they still have a chance to write the chapter. They can make it into the greatest comeback story of all time if they wanted to. So let's see what they do starting tomorrow, guys. Let's see what they do starting tomorrow. All right. Our last segment of the show tonight, Grimmies. And the Grimmies question of the week is, who was your favorite athlete growing up, and who was the athlete / who was the athlete that made you fall in love with sports? Mike, let's go with you first.
I'm going to go with Derek Jeter because I was always a Yankee fan growing up. I'm still a Yankee fan. He played short. I played short. It was Derek Jeter from the start. Always has. He's the GOAT. He's the Hall of Famer. He's the icon in New York. He grew up watching him, and I'm still a Yankee fan to this day. So I got to roll with Derek Jeter.
Is that Mr. November?
That's right.
Mr. November? Yeah, no, look, I mean, I always enjoyed watching Derek Jeter play, and the guy he was so just suave. He was just smooth. Keb, what you got, man?
Yeah, I kind of give like two answers here because when I was a real youngster, you know, the first sport I was into wasn't football or baseball, it was NASCAR. If you consider it a sport, I do. I was a huge Jeff Gordon fan. Like that was my guy. Like in elementary school, I'd watch every race, I'd watch every practice, qualifying. I was super into it. But as I got into football, I mean, let's see here. How can I do this? I don't know if y'all could see that man standing there holding that Vince Lombardi trophy. It's got to be Drew Brees, right? 2006. You know, I can remember one of the first Saints games that I remember as a kid. And for the people that don't know, I'm only 28, so I was born in '97. So I am a younger fan. Mike's shaking his head. So the first game I remember was 2006 divisional playoffs against the Eagles in the Dome. And I know Jerry was there, right? So I could just remember being a youngster, 9 years old, and my dad, he had a little small TV, one of those little tiny sets in the cubby of his dresser in his bedroom. And, you know, he's watching the game, and, you know, he's screaming at the TV. He was so excited. He was screaming Breeze and Reggie Bush and everything. And I didn't know nothing about these guys because I was more of a NASCAR fan at that time. And just seeing his passion and what it meant to him being a lifelong Saints fan, watching him suck for so long and just being so excited. That's what turned me into the sports fan I became, and my love for sports and specifically the Saints and football right there. So that's an easy one for me. It's Drew Brees.
I got to tell you, for that divisional round game, it was so special because it was the year we came back from Katrina, and what made that game so great, and not many people talk about it, but it was one of Deuce McAllister's best games as a Saint. If you saw some of the runs he made that game, I mean, he was basically Jerome Bettis and Bo Jackson combined. And I remember the final 2 or 3 plays. First of all, the game was just the roof was just vibrating the entire game. But I remember Philly on 4th down had to punt to us. We got the ball with under 2 minutes left, and I think Philly had 1 or 2 timeouts. It was 3rd and 1, and they had they called their final timeout with like a minute and I don't know. Mike, did you remember that game? Like a minute and 10 seconds or something like that. And we ran out the eye, and Deuce ran to the weak side for a first down. Guys, it was our first ever NFC Championship berth, and with the emotions of coming off Katrina, that final 2 or 3 minutes, whenever Breeze, we ran 2 plays after that, and they were both kneel downs. Guys, nobody wanted to leave the dome after that. I remember it was probably the longest we've stayed in the dome up until the NFC Championship game when we beat the Vikings. Nobody wanted to leave. I remember we're walking out the dome, walking on porches. There's people jumping up and down on cars, going crazy. And it was such an emotional time because of everything that had happened. Plus, it was our first ever NFC Championship berth. I mean, at that time, we had 1 playoff win for 40 years. But yeah, that was a good memory to bring back up, Kev. I remember that very well. Mike and I were seniors in high school, to just give you a reference on age. And it was actually the weekend of my 18th birthday, so it made it even more fun. And I remember, that 2006 year was special. It was a very special season for so many reasons. And it's like I said last week of why that Reggie Bush draft pick was so important to the city. But man, that Eagles divisional game, one of the loudest Saints games to this day I've ever been to. It was rocking. It was fun. But no, that was a good pick. I actually remember watching Drew Brees at Purdue. I don't know how many of you guys watched him at Purdue. I was a big fan of Drew at Purdue. And I remember he put the rose in his mouth when they won the Big Ten and went to the Rose Bowl in 2000. So I was a Drew Brees when he wore the other black and gold with the Boilermakers. But anyway, what you got, KG? Who was your favorite player growing up?
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple of answers as well. Obviously, baseball is my first love as a kid. You know, we're a baseball family. I was actually one of the only guys in my family to play football, believe that or not. My entire family plays baseball, though. So growing up, I was actually a Cardinals fan. So JD Drew was very close friends with my cousin Brooks Batto, was in his wedding, whatever. So we followed JD to the Cardinals, and that's when the Cardinals had Mark McGwire and Jim Edmonds. Well, I'll stop there. Jim Edmonds, growing up, was my favorite baseball player. I played center field. I played outfield my entire life. I love the way that Jim roamed center field, one of the all-time great defensive center fielders. But I'll stop here and say this. My very first baseball game ever was Enron when it first opened up. The Cardinals went to Houston, and I got to go watch them play at Enron. I want to say it was either 2000, 2001. And when I got there, the Killer Bees decided to drop double digits on the Cardinals and beat them if my memory serves me right. The Astros beat the Cardinals 11-1, and Jeb Bagwell hits 2 bombs in that game. Well, keep in mind, I'm a 5-6-year-old kid, and I remember turning to my dad and being like, "Hey, I think I like that guy." And ever since then, I've been a huge Jeff Bagwell fan. And if you go in my closet right now, I have the old school rainbow jersey, Bagwell number 5.
Same thing. I got it too.
So,
yep, I got it too.
As a lefty, I'm a left-handed kid. I never played first base, but as a left-handed kid, I always imitated that wide batting stance.
The squatter.
And really low.
Squatter.
So I've always loved me some Jeff Bagwell. That was always my he's the guy that kept my love for the game intact. Now, the Astros went through some really bad years after, he left and whatnot. Now, I was fortunate to watch them get to a World Series in 2005 and get swept by the, White Sox. But at the time, we never thought the Astros would ever get to a World Series in those days. So, no, Jeff Bagwell is definitely my baseball answer. But, Kev, it's an obvious answer. Growing up, like I said, I was a baseball kid. I really wasn't a big football kid until Drew Brees got into the building. Now, obviously, I kept up with the Saints, and I always knew the Aaron Brookses and the Deuce McAllisters and the Joe Horns. But I never was a diehard Saints fan until Drew Brees entered the building. And it's going to be weird to say, but y'all will relate. Y'all are from South Louisiana. It really wasn't what he did on the field. It's actually, for me, the way he carried himself off the field. Like, I never saw an athlete that was so great at the game, but also so great as a person. And it's his interviews and everything he did off of the field that turned me on to him. Like, I remember being in middle school or maybe early on in high school and reading his book where the famous story about, he came to New Orleans and he got lost and whatnot. And Sean Payton brought him through. Yeah, there it is. So Sean Payton brings him through, the ghetto, and everything is flooded. Houses are off the foundations. And instead of having that negative reaction, like, oh my God, I don't want anything to do with this, he had that reaction of like, this is everything. Like, I'm being brought here as the reason, a reason to give hope in this city. So, no, like I said, I mean, obviously we love what he did on the field. I'm always going to tell people top 5 statistical quarterbacks of all time. But if I had to pick a quarterback today to play one game under center, he has the most talent of any quarterback I've ever seen, if you throw stats out the window. But man, I mean, Drew Brees is obviously, when it all boils down to it, he's my favorite athlete overall in the world. Baseball, football, any sport, you can pick it. I'm through and through a Drew Brees guy, and it's the way that he has played the game, but also what he's done for his family and obviously the entire state of Louisiana off the field.
Yeah, that's a good answer. And no, you're right, man. I mean, I remember when we signed him, and I was living in New Orleans at the time, and we were very excited to get him. And I remember like we signed him in March of 2006. So New Orleans was nowhere near back to still in recovery mode, and I remember when there was in the back of the Times-Picayune, he and his wife, Brittany, I think they were like newlyweds or had been married for a few years. And they had a big article saying how happy they were to be in New Orleans and how grateful they were for this opportunity. And I just remember that being in high school, reading that article and realizing, wow, we got somebody good. And the rest was history for the next 15, 20 years. So yeah, Drew Brees will always be lauded as a hero in New Orleans and in South Louisiana for what he did, not only on the field, but off the field as well.
Well, let me ask you, G. It's your turn, and you can't ask yourself. So growing up, what was your athlete? Who got you into sports? Your turn.
I got a few, man, because I used to, so it's funny because back in the mid 90s, and Mike, you can relate to this, the basketball shorts and the basketball shoes, the Air Jordans, the Nikes with the big check mark on the t-shirt, like very 90s-esque. It was honestly, I don't really watch as much NBA. I watch a little bit of Pels, but watching the 90s Bulls, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, I mean, Dennis Rodman. I used to have WGN. Like, I know some people became Cubs fans. I watched the Bulls in the mid 90s. And I started watching when Michael Jordan came back, when he retired, then he came back. I watched that second run where those 3 years they won those championships in the NBA, and I enjoyed watching those Bulls teams. And so, I know it's kind of cliche to say Jordan, but watching those Bulls teams, it was like Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, Tony Kukoc. Like, those are the kind of guys that I really enjoyed watching, that really made me fall in love with sports in a way that it wasn't just one or two players, it was the team. Of course, I grew up watching the Saints. We weren't that good in the 90s, so there really wasn't any players there that really made me enjoy loving sports. Actually, it made me want to follow other teams. But another player in the NFL, or two players in the NFL, one I hated to face every week as a Saints, or every twice a year as a Saints fan, was Jerry Rice. Every time I felt that dude came to the Dome, he always had a career day against us. And that was when the Saints were bad. So
you're definitely aging yourself. Talking about Jerry Rice playing in the conference.
Man, you can always depend on him to score a touchdown or make this long catch. Another player that I enjoyed watching was Randy Moss. I watched him at Marshall and watching him with the Vikings. I've never seen a guy just have ball control like him. And then as far as baseball goes, I'm probably, honestly, and I feel guilty for saying this because of all the steroid stuff, but I love watching McGuire and Sosa go back and forth in that home run race in 98. Man, that was so entertaining. It was like home run derby, but in real time during the baseball season. So, those were the type of, I didn't really have individual players, but it was like the Chicago Bulls of the 90s that I enjoyed watching. I loved, watching a Jerry Rice or even a Deion Sanders, a prime time. And then watching the home run race. And then when I found out they took steroids, it broke my heart because I was like, man, this is all for nothing. This is all for nothing. So there really was no individual players. I will say, I will even give one for UL. I'll give one for UL. I got to give a shout out to my man, Jake Delhomme. I enjoyed watching Jake as a kid, watching him do what he did at USL at the time, and then watching his grind to get where he got with the Saints for a couple years, and then getting a starting job at Carolina and earning a spot in the Wall of Fame at Carolina's football stadium. So I know it was kind of a multi-answer. There was really no specific player that I really looked up to. It was a bunch of them at one time that made me love sports. But I don't know about you guys, but like the late 90s, early 2000s era of sports, I would say it was one of the best, man. It was one of the best. I mean, you look back at the 90s Bulls, you look back at the Yankees of the late 90s, you look back at even the NFL teams. Like, there were so many great players. Elway, Favre, the Patriots, the Rams. Yeah, man, I miss those days. I don't feel like we have that anymore, man. I don't know. Maybe in golf. Maybe in golf we have it a little bit, but I don't feel like we have that in the three major sports like we used to,
Jerry, if I may, you brought up one of your favorite Cajuns players you like growing up. This is gonna make sense to a lot of you. Whoops.
Oh.
Hold on, guys.
Party foul.
Oh.
There we go.
This is gonna make sense to a lot of you, especially in the group chat. But my favorite Cajun football player, I can remember growing up watching, and again, I was born in '97, was Michael Desimo. So that makes
me too. If you weren't going to say it, I was going to say it. Growing up, my first notable Cajun, really, honestly, any sport was Mike Dez. Just the way he ran that offense. Yes. What was he at one time? He was the leading rusher in the NCAA at one point. Like, I just loved the way he played it. It was exciting. Now, granted, we weren't a very good football team, but he was very exciting when he had the ball in his hands. So Kevin, me and you are weirdly in lockstep about a lot of things.
We are, but like everybody always gives me a little crap for being giving Desimo so much grace with some of the stuff, football stuff or whatever. Maybe that'll clear it up a little bit for the guys that were wondering. And it's not so much like watching him like, oh my God, he's so good. He's a good quarterback, like you said, but it was just. At that age coming up, it's one of the first things you can remember watching, your favorite team. It was Mike Desimo. It was Chris Mason. It was Tyrell Fenroy. So that's just kind of what I remember coming
Chris
up.
Mason. I had a bunch of classes with him, man. We go to the library and supposed to be studying for exams, and we're cutting jokes the whole time. Oh, yeah, Chris and I were good friends in college.
Yeah. So, like, that was kind of like the era that I remember coming up.
Hey, don't forget Pee Wee, Ladarius Green, right? Another one of my former classmates at UL,
The first New Orleans Bowl, I remember he was the guy back then, 2011.
That's right.
But real quick, I know we're going on time, but I didn't mention a baseball player yet. I wasn't really huge into baseball. I played baseball, growing up, but I wasn't that big into it until I started coming to Cajuns games, of course. But if I had to give an MLB player, I'm going to, like Cole said, he grew up a Cardinals fan. Well, coming up playing rec ball, we were always the Cardinals. So, as a kid, I like to follow the Cardinals, and, you'd play the show, whatever. Not the show. Was it the show?
MLB.
Yeah, MLB the show, yeah. The old EA Sports games, and it was the Cardinals. It was Albert Pujols. He was the big stick. So I grew up kind of as a Cardinals and Albert Pujols fan before I kind of started getting into the Astros a little bit down the road.
As an Astros fan, Albert Pujols still haunts me from that 2005 NLCS game when we should have clinched it at Minute Maid, but that man had to ruin it, and I think the ball is still in orbit over the Crawford boxes as we speak. I remember watching that and just luckily we won the game at Busch Stadium after, but it's like we could have clinched it at Minute Maid, but he had to ruin it for us, so. But no, mad respect to Albert Pujols. What a career for him, guys. What a career for him. I mean, he probably played almost, 20 years in the league?
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah. And by the way, speaking of greats, again, this weekend on Saturday, shout out to my man, Jonathan Lucroy, former Milwaukee Brewers, Texas Rangers. I think he played for the Nats, a few other teams as well. But a great guy, a great player, but a great man, a great man. Played with my cousin Josh back in the early 2000s for the Cajuns. Always a great guy. Sometimes you'll see him around in Lafayette, he and his wife and his kids. Great people, great people. Very, very honored to see him have his jersey number 21, retired. Forever at the Teague. Well deserved. Luke, congratulations, buddy. We love you, and we look forward to seeing you at the Teague and getting those honors. Guys, it's been fun tonight, man. We've almost 3 hours, guys. We had a lot to talk about. Time flies when you're having fun, but look, we do have to leave soon. But before we go, gentlemen, give your final thoughts going into this weekend. Big Kev, I'll start with you.
Real simple. Getting a sweep, 5-0. Keep this thing rolling.
Mike, what you got, dude?
Look, it's going to be a great atmosphere, big crowd. Do it for LaCroix. Do it for our season. We need 3 wins this weekend.
I'm not even going to go ball related. I'm going to give a shout out to the man behind the scenes tonight who we did not mention one time. Lane Johnson, thank you for all the work you're doing. Thank you for all the work you're doing behind the scenes. I know you don't get a lot of FaceTime at times, but I wanted to shout you out and let you know that we absolutely appreciate you. And by the way, your fresh cut in that lineup, you look like a totally different man, my boy. I can't wait to hang out with you tomorrow night, bro.
Appreciate it.
You know what? Lane, I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. Who was your favorite athlete growing up? I forgot to add you, man. I'm sorry. My apologies. Who was your favorite athlete growing up? Let's hear it.
Mike Madonna. That's the reason I got into hockey and why I still watch it to this day.
Okay.
That's a deep cut, man. That's a ball right there.
That's an impressive
a great
pick.
take, Lane.
Okay.
I have no idea who that is, and that's how I know it's a deep cut. I'm not a hockey guy.
Hey, man, the man loves his Dallas Stars, right, Lane? He loves his Dallas Stars. Well, gentlemen, it's been fun tonight, and I'll just close it out by saying this. Look, take care of business this weekend. Softball, you got 2 games left to redeem the series before having some momentum going into the conference tournament in Lamson next week. Grinders, Waterhose boys, let's earn that title this weekend and get the sweep against Georgia State. For anybody going out to the Teague, again, be on the lookout for weather. Be on the lookout for any updates or announcements. There may be some schedule shifts because of the rain, but overall, stay safe when you head out to the Teague this weekend in this weather. It's going to be a little cold tomorrow night if we have the game, so just warm up, bundle up, and let's go enjoy some baseball at the Teague, boys. Anyway, guys, if you like what we do, please like, subscribe. We're all over social media. We got X, we got Facebook, we got Instagram, we've got TikTok, we've got all of it. Once again, thank you to our sponsors, including the Best Stop, of course, Best Stop Supermarket and all their different locations. We want to thank all of our sponsors as well for paying the bills for us. To everybody who tuned in tonight, thank you so much for listening, commenting. If you like what we do, please continue to like, subscribe, and talk about how great we are. And if you see us at the Teague or if you're at the Section 8 tailgate, come by and say hi. You know where I sit. If you're walking in the grandstand, you'll definitely see Mike and his lovely wife. You'll see Big Keb, Lane, and KG out in Section A. Maybe KG, if you're lucky, he may be wearing his natty costume. You don't know, right? But anyway, as always, guys, go out to the Teague, go have some fun, enjoy yourselves, and look, it's going to be a fun weekend. Let's take care of business. Again, Cajuns 3-game series starting tomorrow night, 6 o'clock first pitch on Friday, 2 o'clock first pitch on Saturday, 1 o'clock first pitch on Sunday, and get out there for all 3 games. Of course, honoring Jonathan LaCroix, our boy Luke, retiring his number on Saturday. Woo! It's been fun, gentlemen. For KG, for Big Kev, for Mike, for Lane, I am Jerry. We are Rage and Review, and as always, guys, we'll probably be back this weekend, hopefully, to talk about the series against Georgia State for the post game on Sunday. So please tune in. If Nick is available, we'll get the job done there. Call in, comment, talk about how awesome we played this weekend. Knock on wood that we do play awesome. And last but not least, as always, guys, it's been a pleasure. Once again, go Cajuns.